Good evening, people! According to YouTube's new, very snazzy live streaming control room, I'm alive! I'm alive. Now I've got to wait for somebody to say they can hear me. But in the meanwhile, good evening to Jonathan. Jonathan was first. Hello, David. Deb, hello. Who else we got? We've got Kim. Excellent, the whole gang's here. The gang's here. Right, everything should be okay. I hate saying that. That's usually when it starts to go the wrong way, but never mind. Yay, Jonathan can hear me. That's all that matters then. What's this? We'll be with you in a mo. It was all going swimmingly well. Yeah, I'm liking this new room. It's nice. The difference for me is, one, I don't have to refresh it repeatedly, which is usually when it comes and says, go away, not interested. The other thing is they've integrated the chat into my ability to go backwards and forwards in the stream and enable the DVR and all the rest of it. It's fabulous. And I can see how many likes it's got. Yes, I'm thinking that could be something at my end. No, I haven't totally disappeared. Oh, I have totally disappeared. You're quite right. Oh, no, that's not good. That's not good at all. Why has it done that? It's saying that my CPU is 93%, so everything should be fine. Warning, the stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. So what do you expect me to do about that, YouTube? Not receiving enough video to maintain. Oh, dear me. Okay, I'm going to make a change at this end, and hopefully that will sort out the problem. Right, let's try this. So basically what I'm doing now is turning off stuff that I could do with having running, but if YouTube's having a moment, I'll just have to live without. So let me try turning this off and see if that makes a difference. It's saying error at the moment. Am I still there? Can you all hear me? Good evening, Neil. Good evening, John. Good evening, Peter. Can you hear me, Mike? Oh, I mean hear me via YouTube, obviously. Okay then. Right. I've shut something down and it seems much happier with the CPU. However, I'm going to have to refresh at the YouTube end because that's not refreshing and telling me everything's fine and dandy. Oh, don't you love it when YouTube start acting up when you're live? No, it's still telling me there's an error and they're not receiving enough video. Oh, for crying out loud. You're lying to me. You know you are. There's nothing else I can turn off, YouTube. If I turn anything else off, there's going to be nothing to see. Actually, that's not true. There's one thing that I could potentially turn off. Just the one thing. So I would love to do that. Give me half a second while I sort that out and see if it says that that's okay. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. Now it's saying excellent connection. So fair enough. Now I've got everything known to mankind turned off. I can get started. So as long as we're all right looking at my desktop, everything's fine. I love YouTube. Really do love YouTube. So who's heard the news anyway, before we even get going? Not that I use it, but that's not the point. Logitech have bought the company that owns OBS. If you're wondering what OBS is, it's the free version of what we use to live stream to YouTube, and millions of people use it. So will Logitech be charging for it in the future? What's OBS stand for, Mike? I can't remember.
I don't know. But...
Go on. I don't like that giggle.
I was thinking of IBS.
No, that's something wholly different. Yeah. but to be honest, it could give you the same impact.
Broadcast system or something.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Why don't you Google it?
Shall I Google that for you?
Right, okay, let's get going before YouTube decides to have another moment with itself. So,
Open Broadcaster software.
That's the one. Now it's all come back to me. Right, I'm going to make sure that you can see my desktop. So, blue desktop. And then I can get going with Keynote. Are you going to let me run Keynote? Oh, I sincerely hope so. It won't be any joy if you don't. We've got lots of fun in Keynote to get going with. So I can see you in the chat. Whoever gave me that extra like, I'm liking that. Thank you very much. I can see the likes, but you know what I can't see? The dislikes. I do think that's intentional. After that one that appeared and disappeared. Okay, so hello and welcome. We're back. Yes, live. It is After Hours 42. Can you believe it? Can you believe it, Mike? 42. Unbelievable. What have we got for you tonight? You'll notice smaller font. That means we've got lots tonight. We've got the week at MacBites headquarters, which is actually longer than a week. We've got the great iPhone 11 delivery day. It's never without incident, although Jonathan topped us this time by some considerable amount. Then we've got how night mode on the camera. Amazing. But how do you do that on older iPhones and iPads? We've got you covered. Then we've got an update to JamBoard, which is something we've covered before. If you are a Pixelmator user, you will want to know about Pixelmator Pro and their upgrade program. Then we've got a completely new app from Adobe. Yes, Adobe. But yeah, I've got to cover it. I've got to mention it, haven't I? Then by popular request, you want to have a look at Microsoft To Do 2.0. Then we're having a look at an app that I have chosen, which is Haste. Then we've got our freebies. And then we have our affinity thing, which is trifold brochure creation. Again, something that I've been asked about more than once, so I thought it was time to cover it. But before we go any further, oh yes, it was the 2 weeks at MacBites headquarters, because this time last week, does it seem like a week, Mike?
No.
It doesn't to me either. We were rather enjoying ourselves at an event. And you were sat here watching us from the week before, and I was sat there watching it too. It was alarming. The lady I was sat next to thought it was absolutely fascinating and couldn't get over the fact that usually we did it live. So we all had a fantastic time. But let's go back in time to 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was a Saturday, and we were doing episode 40. But that day, we also recorded 41 and we did an episode 0 of MacBites. So it was a day that will forever go down in MacBites history as 3-show Saturday. And if we ever do it again, it'll be too soon, won't it, Mac? We nearly killed ourselves. But it got done. Then, of course, it was Sunday morning, and we rather regretted it, didn't we, when the alarm clock went off. I was still recovering, and it was an 8 a.m. start on the Sunday, but we weren't the worst off, were we? You've forgotten now, haven't you, what happened?
Yeah.
We were minding our own business on the way to church, which is about a mile away, up a very straight road, when we went past the local little supermarket, like a corner shop, only bigger. They'd had a worse night than we had. That wall that's missing, no, a car did not go into it. There was a robbery. You're wondering why they stole the wall, aren't you? They actually stole the ATM that was attached to said wall. They took it with them on a flatbed truck. I'm not making this up, honestly, I'm not. And they abandoned the flatbed truck about a mile away. Luckily in the opposite direction to us, but that was the state of the store on the Sunday morning. And I looked and I said to Mike, well, somebody's worse off than we are. But then we went into Monday. Now, this was the 16th of September, which meant we'd placed our order for the new iPhone. So Monday, I thought, got to be on its way soon. Not on Monday. It got to Tuesday. Now, by this stage, I'm usually following it from China, and it's great. We all say, where's yours? Here's mine. And we're following it on a map, and it's amazing. No, Tuesday came and went. I thought it'll be fine. It'll happen overnight. But I got into Wednesday. Did this happen to anybody else? Still waiting for dispatch. I thought, it's got to be Wednesday because it's supposed to be coming on Friday. Guess what? Headed into Thursday. Movement on Thursday. Oh yes, a delivery. But before you get excited, it was the case. You can tell Mike's excitement in the reflection from my iPhone 7 there. He looks totally thrilled. But yeah, that was the best we could muster. So that was the case I'd picked on the left-hand side, which was basically a bumper with a back on it. And I'm holding it up next to my 7. But that unfortunately was the highlight of Thursday. You're quite right, Peter, cash and carry. They took it with them, money and all. The iPhones, though. Well, alarmingly, I went to bed on Thursday night. and it was still awaiting dispatch. Can you imagine what the air was blue here? It's Thursday, for crying out loud, and I thought, it's not going to make it. It's not going to make it. But Friday arrived, and with it, iPhone day. And, I had the house staked out. That's the front garden. Didn't I do well with those hedges? You should have seen them a couple of weeks back. And I was there all day. Anyway, more about that down the line, because it was a week ago today, and we were heading off to that event that you had seen me design the brochure for. And there is all the brochures. So there was the one that you saw me design, which was on the top, and underneath that there was another one, the one that I designed in February. Little bit of a spoiler here as to did the iPhone arrive or not. That is a standard photo. That was the ultra wide. Yes, iPhone arrived. But as I say, more about that. So we headed off to this gala dinner. It was at Old Trafford's cricket ground, and it was a beautiful night. That camera's amazing, isn't it? That's what I thought. Mike had a go. What were you, 15th man? Oh, I'm getting the evil now. You'll notice he's got a rather alarmingly coloured plaster on his hand. We'd not been there 2 minutes before he managed to get a finger. Was it stuck in that track for the cable?
I was trying to pull the thing up, for the cable.
They had a track that was...
where you have a plug in the floor.
Yes.
It's covered.
Yes.
Trying to pull it up and cut the finger.
Yes, and had to go for first aid. What can I say? But it was an amazing, amazing night. Mike started well enough, didn't you? You looked quite sober at that point. But obviously you can tell how much wine was consumed as the night went on. That's his air guitaring with a friend. Then he carried on drinking as he was dancing, took the wine with him. Now, some of you will have seen this on Facebook and Twitter. But later on, the wine was on the table. You just help yourself. Now, I don't drink. But there was a good half a bottle left, wasn't there, Mike? The only problem was, as the lady offered it to him, who had hold of this bottle across the table, there was no glasses. They'd cleared the glasses away. Luckily, I had a glass, so I finished my water, and Mike finished the wine in a pint glass. Nothing like class, is there? But while all of that was going on, you guys were watching 41, and so was I. It worked brilliantly. So I think we can repeat that if and when we need to. Everybody, the feedback I got was incredibly positive, so thank you very much for that. Then Saturday, as if Friday night wasn't enough, we went out for lunch. We went to Chinese in town. If you are within the vicinity of Manchester, I can highly recommend it. It's called Buffet City on Portland Street, and it was amazing. We took a few friends with us. There were 18 of us in all. And it wasn't just the Chinese, was it, Mike? Which was great. Oh, no, they do the most amazing desserts. Graham, you ready? That I thought was beautiful, but, they had a lot of desserts. And you could go back as many times as you like. It was an all-you-could-eat buffet. And we did try and push that, didn't we? Possibly to our own detriment later on. They also had a whole sweet counter that you could help yourself to. Mike's only disappointment was the chocolate fountain wasn't turned on till 5 o'clock, so he was actually pretty much ready to sit and wait. But unfortunately for Mike, we had to head off. And we headed off to do the shopping for the week. But we found the guide dog people. Now, you might not know, but the group of people that we're in charge of this year, which is why we're doing all these events, we pick a charity and the guide dogs are our charity. So we had a lovely chat with them and Mike met a little friend. I was all for taking him home. The dog, not Mike. But, I take Mike home anyway. Now, some of you are MacBites listeners, and the last MacBites, you may remember, was called Otis Rides Again. Otis being Siri's friend who's usually in charge of a lift. Well, in this shopping centre, guess what? Otis was in charge of the lift. Luckily, he got me to where I needed to be. And while Mike did the shopping, I set up camp in the cafe, as you can see. Lovely black tea there with some water, and that was my view for the afternoon. And I was saying to Mike, I actually found it, because I work at home, I can always do everything. And sometimes it's difficult to choose what to do. But being away from the office was like, okay, so you've got this laptop in front of you and you're just going to be able to do what you can do. And got blog posts up and all sorts. It was amazing. So I enjoyed that. But then in the evening, you remember the all-you-could-eat buffet? Yeah. In the evening, do at the golf club. More food. In fact, it was Chinese as well, wasn't it? Yeah, we possibly overdid it a little bit. In fact, that was Chinese stroke Indian, wasn't it? Their barges?
Yeah.
It was a mix, but it was a good night. Somebody really enjoyed himself. He was bopping away. If you're wondering why that one's not quite as pin sharp, it came from a video. Bopping away, guess what? Only won the prize for best dancer. I'm just going to let that go pass without comment. And what was it? Oh, chocolates. Now, that photo was taken with the new iPhone, and it was taken with the portrait mode. Not only is the background blurry, which is what you want, but actually I thought the bit that was supposed to be sharp was very sharp. I was impressed with that. Then on Sunday, Sunday was a tech day. We had a fabulous day. We needed to head off to the Trafford Centre. And the idea was, a couple of weeks back, I'd said to Mike that there was a tariff. We're with O2. Let us know in the chat who you're with and what contract you've got. We're actually, we don't take the iPhone from anybody. We buy it outright from Apple and we go on whatever tariff we want. But we've been with O2 for 11 years and they've always served us rather well. To the point when we had no data locally. So in the house, I said there's no 3G. And Mike said, I haven't got any 3G either. So we picked up my dad's phone and he had no 3G. Now, there was no 4G at the time. This is going back quite a way. So I said, I'm going to ring them. Mike said, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get to an engineer. You never do. And I said, well, and Mike, you were walking around the vicinity, weren't you, and trying to work out where the signal picked up. Yeah. And heading out south, there was nothing. But if you headed north, he could get a bit of a signal. So we reported it to O2. And they actually put me through to an engineer. It was amazing. And he fixed it. They had to send out somebody with a new box for somewhere. So we always stay with O2. So a couple of weeks back, we'd seen that there was a tariff and it was an upgrade for us. We had 25 gig of data and this upgrade was to 100 gig. The problem was it was 50% more expensive than what we had. Not good. I know, Jonathan's, that's good. We love 3, but we can't get a signal in the house, so we couldn't go with them. So £6 a month for 4 gig is good. That is very good. We were on 25 gig for £20. And this 100 gig tariff was £30. So it was like, I don't really want to be paying 50% more, but I really fancy 100 gig. Anyway, I just happened to check after the phones had arrived and it was on offer for £25. So at that stage, oh yes, we'd go for that. So we get to the Trafford Centre and look what I found as soon as we arrived. Isn't that just the best car reg? Now, Mike reckoned it was somebody called Carlos. But to me, oh no, I saw something wholly different there. I thought that was so amazing. Anyway, who follows me on Facebook? Let me know that as well, because I did a Facebook Live, which I won't put the whole thing up. But basically, we got there and the Apple Store, now you'll hear the audio on this if I play it. That's the only issue. Let me move down one so you can actually see it. That's the view as you go into the Trafford Centre, and that barrier, this was, remember, 2 days after the phone came out. It was crazy. Is it yours, Carl? Really? It was crazy, crazy busy. So I did a Facebook Live of that. But then we got to O2 and they upgraded us straight away. So I was rather pleased with that. So we've now got 100 gig of data every month. I don't particularly, like Jonathan, I'm on Wi-Fi most of the time. But there are occasions when I'm not. Where did we go, Mike? And you said how much have you used? It was on a Friday.
I don't know, but I've used 6 gig this month so far.
Oh, I know where it was. It was when we went out to the gala dinner. And I was live streaming my own event on Wi-Fi, on cellular. So that, all night I used about 10 gig. So we decided that we'd go for that anyway. Then we did another Facebook Live. which I'll put these up so you can actually see them. But basically, that table that you're looking at there, that's a frame out of a video. That's the table we always sit at in Cafe Nero when we bought something. It's become our thing. And we indulged ourselves. There's another photo from the new iPhone. So again, you can see the background is very blurry, but Mike looks fab. There you go, Mike. Can't say fairer than that. You look fab. Very pleased with that. Very pleased with it. Now, then we get into another Monday. And I decided I'd do all my system updates on Monday. It started off like that. Ended up like that. It just started going backwards. To the point it failed completely, and that sorted Monday out. Eventually it did come back to life. It was my MacBook Air from 2012, and I did actually get it back to life in the end, which was fortuitous because on Tuesday it was iPad day. I thought I'd just do the one, I thought. Guess what I ended up doing? The whole lot. I think it is a huge, huge improvement. So I was very, very pleased with that, and I did the lot. Mike, however, is still holding out, so maybe he'd care to explain why.
Inertia.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get it done this weekend, won't you?
Bugs to be fixed.
Well, don't wait for that. You'll die waiting for that. Now, Wednesday was a very special day. Very, very special day. So big, big happy birthday to Graham for Wednesday. I did DM and wish him a happy birthday. Apparently cake was not involved. But I'm thinking tonight you definitely need at least a cupcake, Graham. Then on Thursday, don't know if you've heard about this, but one of our favourite apps, Affinity Publisher, won an award, the Excellence Awards. So they've won it 2 years in a row. Last year was Designer for iPad, and this year was Affinity Publisher. And we'll be looking at Affinity Publisher later. Good to see Graham's done his iPad, even if you haven't, Mike. I decided, because I've only just sort of semi-set this up properly. Ooh, Neil's got the measure of me, hasn't he?
I think you're right there, Neil. I didn't want to say that.
I was using quite a bit of bandwidth, I'll grant you.
You're thousands of miles away. You can get away.
I decided to back up my iPhone, and my main concern was my photos. I didn't know whether to do a transfer of the phone. If you've done it, let me know. Did you transfer or did you do a clean install? We had no choice but to do a clean install because there was no way we could get out of the house on Friday with anything other than a quick setup. But I wanted to back up my photos, and I don't know about everybody else, but I use PhotoSync, and I know Mike uses PhotoSync, and it works brilliantly. It's not working for me at the moment. It's doing a fair old attempt at it, but then it fails. So I've got all these photos that I'm thinking I want to take them off, and I can't back them up properly. It's giving me an error on one particular photo, but not telling me which one, which means I've no idea what I'm doing with it. So I took a different approach, and I went onto a different app, which I think we've talked about as well, which is called Phone View. Now that enables me to see all of my images in like a Finder view on the phone and copy them off. So I had to do that in batches of 1 month at a time. And I've got all my photos that I have taken since 2014 on my phone. There's 55,000 of them. It took me a while. So that was Thursday dealt with. But today is Friday and we are back with you and we are back live. So let's go back to the great iPhone delivery day. You guys said it's not fair that we were going out iPhone delivery day when we could have saved it and done a live unboxing. Well, we didn't want you to miss out. So this is how delivery day went. Just check the time on that. 6:57 in the morning. I have been known to go to bed at that time, but I am very, very seldom up at that time. But I got up and it says it's arrived at Appleton. Appleton, for reference, probably about 50 miles away, maybe less.
Warrington, isn't it?
Is it Warrington? Oh, in that case, it's only about 12 to 15.
Have you noticed the days that you surface early are iPhone purchase or delivery?
Yep.
Like when we went to Liverpool.
Yep.
Well, famous MacBites.
Yep. So that was me there. Then I got this. You have 2 active parcels. One was mine, one was Mike's. Problem? Look at the time. I had to wait all day. So there I was, up at 7 o'clock in the flaming morning, to be told it wouldn't be arriving till 4:30. Fabulous. But then I got the 30-minute warning mail. Yes. Then I got the 15 minutes mail. Then I got the text. I'm next. Now, I knew at this stage where he was because I could see him on a map. And I stood and I waited and I waited and I waited, didn't I, Mike? Yeah. And 10 minutes later I said, is he walking? He was literally 2 minutes up the road. But this was me outside. Now, you've seen this picture, but this isn't just a picture. Oh, no. This is actually delivery day, so I'll share it with you. I've cut off the swearing that was in the other one. Where is he? Because I spotted him. Keep your eye left for a white van. You can see me hovering, can't you? Moving from side to side. Where is he? But he does it. There he is, look. Ooh, I see him. Mike! I know. I can see Tony. Oh, I am a happy bunny now. Don't disappear. Down you come, Tony. Why? And I need a phone. Ah, excellent. Last few seconds without my precious. He took his time to get out of the van, didn't he? Yay, there he is. I've been waiting all day and everybody else has got theirs.
Is it an iPhone?
It's 2 iPhones, one for me, one for the other half. Excellent.
You'll probably see me just swinging to the petrol station and I was just going to grab some fuel.
Do you know, it said he's on his way and I'm stood here waiting and waiting.
Well, I had to fit someone up. I had to go and see someone else who wasn't in before and I said I'd go back, so that's probably why you're waiting a bit longer.
We'll let you off.
What was your surname again?
Giles, Giles.
There you go. All right, have a good
Thank
day.
you, you have a good day too. I bet you've been busy. Oh, we have phones.
Julian.
Hold those. Oh, excellent. Look at his little face. Look at his little face. Give me a smile. He went for petrol.
I heard him.
Went for petrol.
Yeah, and?
Oh, well, on to the unboxing. Be there shortly.
What?
Ooh! Did he have to leave it so late? Our toys are here. 2 of them. Twins. I've got mine. Don't unbox it, Mike. They'll want to see it. But we'll have a dabble with mine first. Yes, as hopefully you will just have seen on the other video, Tony got the message. Tony's on his way. Next minute, Tony took another 10 minutes. Tony went for petrol.
Want some scissors?
Can't get the staff. No part of the fun is getting in the box, Mike. So it's, what time is it now? Oh, 10 to 6. I've waited all day. I've never had one arrive this late. Apart from that pencil that time, which was a whole other saga. You might want to score yours first to make it a bit easier. Let me go in this way. I've got the nails on this. Oh, come on, come on. Oh, I might have to give in, Mike. There's too much sellotape on the thing. Oh, excitement, excitement. Yay. I'm in, I think. I've got that bit off. So, oh, I'm in, look. Ooh, side view. Hopefully that'll come up. Ah, top view. Oh, it's the right thing.
Does it smell of new phone?
Let me have a sniff. No, it's got too much packaging on it to smell of new phone. There we go. All in the plastic. So give me 1 second with that. Oh, I shall have to take a picture of this because I've been driving everybody crackers all day. There we go. I have a photo of that. Right, let's get in. Oh, so much packaging. So much packaging. Oh, my precious. It's the right size, Mike. So that's another calamity avoided. Oh, and it's all shiny. Actually, that feels different than previous years. There is, of course, the little green thing. You have to have the little green thing, which is I bet that can't focus on the little green thing. All eco-friendly. Technically, just do that and the whole thing comes out. Oh, it did. Excellent. Now you've got to do this bit, which is you grab the lid and you just lift. And they time that, apparently. Oh, how pretty is that? Liking that, liking that. For reference, it is an iPhone 11. I went for black. Is it a spoiler to say you did too?
No.
No, I think we said that last week, didn't we? I think we did. So, grab that. And, oh, there we are. It actually, is the back wrapped? No, the back isn't wrapped. We just have that screen protector on the front. No wrapping on the back. It says Apple something something. Would need better glasses to read it.
Made in Hong Kong.
No, there's nothing on the back now. Not even designed in California. Completely gone. And that's the front. Now, what's in the box? Oh, very nice. I think they're cabled, aren't they? They are Lightning headphones with a little adapter. I think the UK one's quite funny. Oh, no, it's not. They've not done it this time. Do you remember the other one where the prongs flip down? Not impressed with that. Oh, well, I never use it anyway. That'll get left in the box, trust me. But, most important thing once you've got the phone... Oh, Apple stickers! Oh, Mike, I've got Apple stickers. Can I have yours as well?
If you like.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, liking it. Do you have to read it? Oh, I'm going to need my SIM tool, aren't I? Going to need that to set it up. Whether I'll be able to set it up or not is a completely different business. There's a saga to this. There always is, isn't there, Mike?
There's always is.
Yes, I'll give you the saga shortly. But that's what's in there. I think that's it. I think if we go in there... Oh, yes, charging cable. You never have enough Apple charging cables because they last all of 5 minutes, if you're lucky. I got a cheap black one, and you know, it's gone months. Do you remember those people on Facebook that said, oh, they last 5 minutes? This one's still going. So I shall be giving details of that. Right, that's that then. So let's get to the point with my unboxing that I actually turn it on. Challenged. Where's the on-off button? Is it this one? Ooh, I haven't had a new phone in that long. I'm not quite sure where the on-off button is. It could be that one, or it could be over here. Do we know, Mike? Or do we have to tap something on here? I'm falling at the first. Maybe it's not charged. I thought it was that one too. Maybe I have to press and hold it longer. Indeed, we have life. We have life. I was right with the button, didn't hold it long enough. Ooh, my precious. Right, do you want to get yours on the desk? While mine struts its stuff and stops alarmingly at some point. Are you doing it or am I?
I'll do it.
You've cheated. It's that way, I think. Oh, I've got hello. I've got hello. Can't say fairer than having a hello. Oh, the excitement. Pick mine up again now. Oh, Mike.
Yeah, but this doesn't count. This is the outer.
Ooh. What are you actually supposed to do at that point? Remember when you had the home button? Oh, no, look. I can do the English thing. And select my region or country, which is setting the language. Loving this. Oh, you back again.
I've cheated a bit. But there we go.
Oh, that is cheating. You can't do that with an Apple box.
It's not an Apple box. That's a DP.
You've got. That's what's happened. Look, you've got sellotape on it.
Let's just get it out of the box. Give it here. That's not standing ceremony. There we go. Right.
There's always one who's desperate to get in, and it's usually mine. What the hell happened there? Right, now what's this thing saying to me? That's not good. Hang on, where were we?
I can't see it.
If you get it in the right place, they can. There we go. Right. There it is. Flip it over.
Actually, it's no different to yours, is it? You take that off.
Oh, you're not being very careful.
Take that off, and there it is.
Now, I've got magic things going on here. I've got magic things going on here with a quick start. Would you like to set up your new phone? It will transfer your current settings. I'm wondering what settings it will transfer. This could end up as a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. On the other hand, it might work well. Do you know what's scary for us?
The notch.
Well, apart from the notch. This one's actually got a bigger screen and it's smaller.
Yeah.
Physically, it's smaller in height, width, and weight, I would say. Shall I try the quick start thing? This may or may not end up well. Careful, what are you doing? You've got it upside down. Right, let's put your stuff back. He's grabbed it now. He's grabbed it now. So we're about to go through the setup procedure. I'm contemplating whether we need... Is this yours?
Yeah.
I'm contemplating whether we need to do the quick start thing.
There we go. It's unboxed.
Oh,
So turn it on.
turn it on. Turn it on. We didn't see mine turn on. Didn't hold it long enough. Go on. Go on.
It's turned on now.
Excellent. Do I want to do the quick start thing, or will it get all up at
I'm going to
a...
do a quick start thing. It's going to always wipe it if it breaks.
Well, it says set it up and it'll transfer your settings, but I don't think it does everything, does it? It doesn't take all your apps and stuff. So if I unlock and do all of that, that should work beautifully. That's the plan anyway.
Hello. Hola.
Now you see, what you're looking for is the button, isn't it? And it's not there.
Yeah, can I send it back?
Don't tap the wrong language!
English. United Kingdom. Have you done this bit?
Yes, I got to that bit there. It went to that. Now, at that point, you may... No, well, it depends if you want to do it manually or want to do a quick start.
Where's the quick start?
The quick start's there. It tells you what to do. It says, right, if you've got an iPhone or iPad running iOS 11 or the later, you can have it sign in automatically. So I think that's what you want to do.
Oh. Well, there we go.
Should we do that?
Bring it near. How near? Not recognised. Oh, hang on.
Oh, I think we finished at that point, hadn't we?
Yes, you got
Obviously, that went on for quite some time. Then you don't need to sit there and look at that. But that was our actual unboxing. And we both did the quick start. And it worked really well. We didn't follow on now. Deborah's saying she did the quick start and then did the iCloud download. That's interesting, isn't it? Maybe we could do that from a backup. That could give us the best of both worlds. I'm still concerned about my health data because I can't find the activity app. It's the badges I'm looking for. I'm assuming they're in the health app, but I can't find them.
The activity app, isn't that the one that won't install till you've paired the watch?
Well, I'm not even sure if it'll install when you have paired the watch. Maybe Jonathan knows because he'll have done all that and I haven't yet. So that is the first photo I took with it, which is my old phone. So I had that beautifully laid out on the desk and then took a photo. I was impressed with the fact you can see all the dirt on my iMac. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. That's how it's meant to work. Well, you've seen the camera, and the camera is pretty amazing. But what do you do if you want night mode and you have an older phone? Well, got you covered. There is an app called NeuralCam. That's the icon for it. And I was thinking it through. I'd actually bought it for my phone before I upgraded. And I thought that's a good idea. And I tried it and it worked great. In fact, I took a picture of Lola with it, the dog that we look after. And it was pitch black and it did a really good job. And then I had another thought, thinking, well, you're not going to need this when you get the new phone. So two things came to me. What about old phones that don't support night mode? And what about iPads? Some people don't have an iPhone, but they do have an iPad. And the iPad is capable of taking great photos and video, but what you need to do with it. So I thought, I wonder if I could get this thing to work on an iPad. Well, short version of that is yes. So let's go and have a look at it. Let's come out of here. Right, going to need my air doodah up, aren't I, so we can see it. So, what have we got down here? I'm trying to find it now. So what I thought we'd do is, my room is quite dark at the moment. What was the name of the app? The app is called NeuralCam. Mike should have a link for it somewhere. All right, I'm going to try and get this shared so you can actually see it. So first of all, let's try doing that. I'm seeing it, but I'm not seeing anything else at the moment. That's not good. Aha, now I am. Right, okay, so you need to see it. So let's see if we can do that and take photos at the same time. Why not, says I. Excellent. Right, so there it is in the top right-hand corner, NeuralCam. So tap on that, takes you in, and you see that. Now, it's doing a couple of things. First off, it's auto-focusing. Now, this room is pitch black. The light that you're seeing there, the camera's basically doing it. Let me see how far back I can go. Right, that's my setup tonight. There's no light on. So if we go up, there's the ceiling. There's no light on. The only light is coming from the computer monitor. So we need something darkish to take a picture of, don't we, Mike? That's particularly dark. So here's my pen pot with my pens in it. There we go. That actually doesn't look bad, does it? But it is dark. It is very dark. Trust me on this. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to block out the light that's coming from the computer. So I'm making it even darker. So that's what we're seeing here. That is not bad. By comparison, let's go in and have a look at the normal camera. You can see it's nowhere near as punchy. Nowhere near as punchy. Let's block more light off. So I'll take a photo with that. Now, I know it's sideways, but humour me. So we'll take a photo with that. Then we'll go out and we'll take exactly the same photo, exactly the same location, with this one. Now, it's set to autofocus. You can manually do it if you need to. So I'll take one there. And then it does a lot of magic processing on it. Basically, it's the same processing as you'd get with an iPhone 11, as it has a rare old think about it. And there's the image. So what I'll do is, I will transfer both of those images. Yeah, I'll transfer them when we come out of here. What I'll do, though, at that point is, I'm going to stop sharing that one. That's not what we're looking for. And that's not what we're looking for. Let's take that. Stop mirroring. And what I'll do is, I'll do two other things, and then we can have a look at the comparison. Right, next thing I'm going to do, my next trick. I'm going to screen mirror my iPhone 11. So this is my iPhone 11. So that's going to get screen mirrored. Excellent. And just have a look at the standard. Oh dear me, that's garish, isn't it? As you can see, not set this up much at all, to be honest. So go into the camera there. And a night mode has automatically come on. It's that bit at the top in yellow. And it says 2 seconds. And it reckons it needs 2 seconds to capture that. So I've taken a photo with that. It's got that one. So I'll transfer that as well shortly. But let's come out of there and let's stop mirroring that one. And let's go into the last one, which is an iPad. Now, an iPad doesn't have anything in the way of magic with the camera, because obviously the iPads, the newest iPads, unless you count that thing that's just come out, that 10.2 iPad, the iPad Pros are a year old. So they don't have the magic camera. So let's get this up here so we can see it. But what I've done is I've installed the camera app on here. Haven't set it up in any way at all. That was good, wasn't it? It's flipped it round. But basically, this is the onboarding that you get with NeuralCam. So I'll take you through it. And you can see, although it is for an iPhone, it does work. You just have to two-time it. So it tells you all you need to know. Basically, it's if you've got a tripod, it's going to be even better. But if you can hold it still for a second, you'll get a decent photo. So there you go. Right, let's allow it to use the location, give it access to the camera and access to save it. So here I am in front of that again. It's having another rare old think about it. And it's captured it. So it's $2.99, and if you are on an older device, so I mean that looks like broad daylight to me, you can even see the detail in the notebook The notebook's got little dots on the top of it. It's a little bit on the noisy side, but nowhere near. I mean, that's not bad actually at all. Even it looks sharper on my screen than it does on the iPad screen than it does on the computer screen that you're looking at. But that is not bad. Not bad at all. Let's have a look what that could do. We go into the camera. On its own. What could it manage on its own? And I can tell you straight away it's very grainy. And it's probably going to be pretty dark as well. So what we're getting from NeuralCam is much better, much, much better. It actually virtually glows. I mean, that is the colour that highlighter pen is. And the pen on the top is also that colour. I'm quite surprised that you can even see the bottom one is purple because it is very dark here. Now, what I'm trying to do now is see if I can actually show you just how dark it is. Let's get there. Yep, I think that will show you how dark it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this onto the screen. Let's get that the right way around so it's sat on top of it and can show you how dark it is. There we go. So that is my webcam sat over the top of where that was taken, and you can see how dark it is. It is very, very dark. So there's no way it's looking like this highlighted glowing thing. It's also incredibly noisy, despite the fact that that is a HD webcam. So I thought that was a really good way of making older kit last a little bit longer. And or if you've got an iPad. Now I know, Graham, you don't have an iPhone, but you do have an iPad. I'm thinking the old wallet needs to take a bit of a hit in this department, Graham. So you can take some pictures in the dark. No, seriously, for stuff like I have done photos where I couldn't use a flash, and I did it with my iPad because it was the youngest device that I had, and I wish I'd have had that camera to do it with at the time. That would have been amazing. So I will transfer all of this slot and we can do a comparison down the line. But I think you can see from that, you know, how dark it actually is and how much that it manufactures light out of absolutely nothing is what it does. It is doing a brilliant job in low light. I've never seen anything as good as that. Now, what I do need to do is a comparison between this and the inbuilt night mode on the 11. Oh, you've lost me. Well, I'll come out of that now. It's probably AirServer having a moment. So let's come out of that and let's come out of that as well. And let's forget all the buffering. Go away. Go away. And we'll also close that. Right. Right, I'm going to give it 30 seconds to calm down. It always buffers when I try and do two shares, and I'm trying to share the output of the phone and a webcam, and it goes mad. So I'm back. Excellent. So what I'll do with all those photos is I will assemble them all onto slides and we'll do a comparison with those between them, and let's see if you can see a difference. So I'll probably put that together and we'll look at that next week. Now my phone view's crashed, Mike. I was trying to leave that alone, but it's got giddy. It thinks it's a different thing, and now it wants me to put in a passcode, and it's got very giddy with itself. But at least we all saw it. So I'm getting a yes from Graham there. It means the old wallet's coming out. It's definitely worth $2.99. We keep our old phones, so our old iPhone 7 Plus will just sit there as a secondary phone. So to have the ability to do any kind of night work on it is worth $2.99 as far as I'm concerned. So those photos I've taken, they will not be retouched in any way, and I will put them on slides and we can have a look. But let's have a look at some updates. Google JamBoard, we demonstrated this in After Hours 34 on the 2nd of August. And we all agreed it was pretty special. Very nice. It's a virtual whiteboard. You can get to it at jamboard.google.com. And there are also apps. Now, there are apps for all the tablets, Android, iOS, phones, you name it. Well, they've brought an update out. They assure us they've redesigned it for iOS and Android. The logic behind the changes are to improve usability, performance and reliability. But they've also done a usability redesign of JamBoard hardware, and therefore they're trying to get a consistency across platforms. It sounds grand, but wait for it. Google say it creates a more seamless and consistent experience, but we're removing several functions to further streamline the user experience. I hate that. What have you killed now? Was my first thought. You know, what changes have you made? Never mind that. What features have you ripped out? Well, the first thing they did was make it consistent. So the things you see there, like sharing and removing from stars and adding to stars, that's consistent across all of the apps now. So all of Google's iOS and Android apps. There's a grid view that they've added. So that's good news as well. And they've also redesigned some of the stuff that we looked at, which is the bar at the top and the bar at the side. They've added a few tools like a select tool, so that was good to know. That's the little square thing at the bottom, the little cross. And they've made changes, they say improvements, changes to the way that you join and open jams on JamBoard and the way that you share it. So they were big, trumping up all the things that they'd done that were fantastic. But what's missing? Well, they say they've temporarily removed the ability to create an offline jam. And the logic behind doing that was they're trying to achieve parity with the offline capabilities of all the other G Suite editors. So you'll still be able to edit a jam offline when you've got it open and you can edit it that you've previously opened. But then they say they'll be deprecating a few features. This was where I wasn't pleased. You'll no longer be able to use NFC to open or join a JamBoard, but you can use Bluetooth. So that could be a security thing. They've removed the Hangouts integration on mobile and tablet. You'll need to share a link in the Hangouts chat or attach it to a calendar entry. And that way, it gives access to all meeting participants. They've removed the web search and the crop feature, but you can use the native browser to find a web page. So really, they've just streamlined that feature. And they've also removed the ability to create jam file codes on mobile and tablet. But you can use your G Suite share features. So really, it's about getting it in line with the other apps, really. But quite unfortunate they've taken away things if those things were the things that matter to you, which they could well. But it's still a good bet. It's still a good bet. Now, who uses Pixelmator? Let me know in the chat if you use Pixelmator. Pixelmator sent an email out, and they sent it out to people who are Pixelmator users, not Pixelmator Pro, Pixelmator users. So we're talking the version of Pixelmator that is in the App Store. Now, obviously, they don't have access to your details from the App Store. So the only reason that I've got this email is that I had the version of Pixelmator from them, that I bought direct from them, before the App Store even existed. Good evening, Stephen. So if you have had Pixelmator that long, or you've bought it from the App Store, and you didn't sign up to their newsletter, you may be unaware of this, but they have today rolled out the Pixelmator Pro upgrade program. And what they're suggesting is that you upgrade. Notice upgrade there. And you can see where they're coming from. Pixelmator Pro, it implies that Pixelmator Pro is that one step better than Pixelmator. The problem with it is when you look at that, it's very, very different to Pixelmator. Very different. And it does not have full feature parity yet. However, they are pushing forward to a point in time, they've not said when Pixelmator Pro will be the only app that they work on. So they're giving you an option to upgrade now at a discount. Now, to qualify for this discount, it says existing Pixelmator users. That's all very well. But it presupposes we're talking about the App Store here. So you go to pixelmator.com/mac/upgrade. That link sends you straight out to the App Store. And how they've done the upgrade is there is a bundle. Now, I did not buy this like this. So although it says purchased, a lot of developers have started doing this. It's the way that they can give you another app at a discount. They have 2 apps in the App Store. They have Pixelmator and Pixelmator Pro. And Pixelmator Pro is about $48.99, I think, or $38.99, one or the other. And Pixelmator is about $10 cheaper. If you have only bought Pixelmator, you have not bought Pixelmator Pro, then there will be a price on this bundle which will be the difference between the price of Pixelmator and $48.99, and you will only pay the difference. Now, I'd already bought Pixelmator Pro, and it was way more expensive when I bought it, but that's a whole other saga. It's not a bad idea, but one of the problems they've not addressed with this, and I'll just show it you on the page as well. So if you were to buy those today separately, it would cost you $67.98. But the app bundle price is $48.99. So it's going to be the difference between Pixelmator at $28.99 and the bundle at $48.99. So the bundle, you could buy the bundle and it would give you both apps. Or you could buy either or. So if you bought Pixelmator, it'd be $28.99, or Pixelmator Pro would be $38.99. Whether it's worth your while buying both at the moment, that's a tough call, because they've already said they don't intend to continue working on Pixelmator moving forward. But the issue you've got, and it's an issue I faced when I tried to upgrade, it needed a certain operating system. From memory, I think it was Sierra. And I hadn't done the Sierra thing. So I did the Sierra thing and I went back to buy it. And I wanted it because I wanted it straight away as soon as it was released, because it was reduced in price. The next problem I faced was the machine I was trying to put it on, the one I'd put the test install of Sierra on, didn't support metal, which is a system level thing. And not only did it need Sierra, it needed Sierra and it needed to support metal. So if you've got an older machine, you won't be able to even buy this bundle. They will not let you buy it on the off chance that you will upgrade in the future. You can only buy it if the machine that you are making the purchase on is actually capable of running it. So it was a nightmare for me. I had to then go and upgrade a whole new machine that did support metal and all of that. So I know there are people here who are using older Macs. You are still going to face all of the same problems that you faced originally trying to get Pixelmator Pro if it just will not run on your machine. Hopefully, this bundle will continue. They've not made any promises about that, but just something to be aware of if you're thinking of upgrading. If you would like to take advantage of this, but your current Mac does not support it, what are your options? The easiest thing to do is to go into a local Apple store or a John Lewis or something like that. Get on their machine, log in with your Apple ID, download Pixelmator Pro, make your purchase and then log out. And then it'll be there for you when you need it. And I was seriously thinking about that. But luckily I didn't have to go that far. So just be aware there is an offer on that at the moment. You would be able to upgrade and it should only cost you about £20. Okay, next thing, brand new, Adobe Fresco. Who's heard of this one? Who's interested? Yes, it's one of those things from Adobe. I must admit, I'm getting more cynical by the second with Adobe. It is free to download, but you need to log into your Creative Cloud account. There's also a premium subscription with it. So if you've got a Creative Cloud subscription, it's going to be totally free. You know, your login stuff is going to be what you're already paying for, etc., etc. So you could get access to this. I actually thought when I looked at it and saw that icon, I thought, oh, good grief, they've resurrected freehand. Sadly, not. The idea of this one is it works on an iPad and it's for painting. It's their answer to Procreate. Now, whether you think that's a good idea or not, I don't know. I must admit, I haven't even downloaded it at this stage. It came out 2 days ago, and I thought, oh joy. Because over the years, and I was a user group manager for Adobe for many years, I just couldn't keep up with what they were doing with all these different apps. It was like, we've got this one for phone and this one for iPad, and now we've got another one and another one and another one. And there must have been about 19 different versions of Photoshop. And do you know what? We all just wanted one that worked. So why they've brought this out, when they're telling us that Photoshop's on the way, and there isn't a huge Adobe event in the next 6 to 8 weeks where I'm expecting that. I don't know why they would release that now. But just to be aware, it is available. I don't know how far you would get with it with no subscription at all. The premium price is $9.99. I did not see whether that was per month or a one-off fee. But just to be aware, if it's something that you'd like to have a look at, then I can always have a look at it. But just something to be aware of this week. Now, one thing that you did want to look at was Microsoft To Do, and I'm not surprised. It's incredibly powerful. We covered this in After Hours 28. And the reason that we looked at it back then was it had literally just been released as a native Mac client. That was back in June. So it was the 21st of June. I talked at the time about how Microsoft To Do came about, and its origin is in Wunderlist, or Wunderlist, depending on how you pronounce it. It was the most amazing client. Mike and I even used that ourselves because the sharing was very, very good. However, Microsoft purchased it and rolled out Microsoft To Do. Now, I mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Couple of slight differences just in the last 3 months. They've changed the name, they've taken the dash away. It's the 2.0 and they've changed the icon. The reason that they've called this 2.0 is because it now has all of the features that people wanted from Wunderlist in there. However, with that, there becomes a problem, which is Microsoft have now announced the retirement of Wunderlist. So eventually it will stop working. They've done the usual thing that they do, and we all hate, where it says it's no longer in active development, but it's okay. You can carry on using it. Yes, until it doesn't work anymore. So stuff's going to start dropping off the end. There was a very interesting conversation went on. The original developer, whilst the price that he got, the remuneration he got for selling it was never actually mentioned in terms of to the last penny, it was in the millions. So over 150 million. He wants to buy it back now. Now, I can't see Microsoft going for that, I'll be honest. Why would Microsoft do that? Because he would then resurrect it and it would be a competitor to it. But he is, Deborah's just put that in there, he is trying to repurchase it. I can't see that happening, but that's where they're at the moment. He wants to buy it back. And Microsoft have control. This is really strange. He's tweeting on his own Twitter account because Microsoft have control of the Wunderlist Twitter account. So the Wunderlist Twitter account is saying things like we, and you're thinking, well, hang on, he wants it, but Microsoft still own it. And what they're saying is, no, it will go into unsupported and then eventually it won't be available anymore. So that's where they're at with that. So in the meanwhile, we need to actually have a look at it. The version 2.0 rolled out across every platform. So irrespective of where you are, there is a new version of it. So let's go and have a look at it. Right, To Do. Now, I think I've got in here some old stuff that we did when we last looked at it. But you should notice straight away there's a difference. I haven't made any changes to this. This is what it did. I think I've got a crashed app here, Mike, and it's not letting me close it, which isn't good, is it? I've upset phone view badly. I think it's easier just to pull the plug on the phone that it's connected to and get it shut down. That way it won't be upsetting the machine. It's still saying it's loading. Crying out loud. I'll leave it alone and let's talk about this. Right, I didn't make any changes to this from the last time we looked at it. So all the changes have rippled through here automatically. But the essence of To Do is that you have the ability to create separate lists for all of your to-dos. So that's what the add task at the bottom is here. You can create, you've got your list and then you add tasks to your lists. You'll see in here, I created some lists and I've even got an inbox list there that I shared with Mike. Yeah, that should have been done, shouldn't it? And it was mentioning it, but it does say the 1st of October, so that's fine. So that's something that I need to do and that list is shared with Mike. But let's have a look what we've got in here. the lists at the top here, my day, important, planned, assigned to me and tasks, are the built-in lists. And you can either put something on there yourself. So go to my day and put my new task, which puts it on my day. So on the 27th of September, I need to do that. But you have another option, which is you can create your own lists down here. Now you'll see I tend to put mine in by date, which you don't need really if you're putting them in my day, do you? So I'll put this one in by project. So let's say Affinity Publisher Colour Webinar. There we go. So there'll be lots of tasks that I'll need to do, and I can widen that if I need to because I've got ultra long titles. There'll be tasks that I need to do in relation to that. So let's say one of the things I need to do is add it to Notion. So add to Notion, and there's my task. If I need to make any notes about that, I can actually click on the task itself and I get this extra panel, which is very powerful. So it's deceptively simple to do. You look at it and think, well, it's not OmniFocus, is it? But actually, you can extend this in many ways. So if you don't need the power of OmniFocus, it's not a bad app. So I can add steps to it. So let's say here, I'll just put in, step 1, step 2, etc. But I can actually put in basically a sublist. If you've ever used Trello, looks similar, doesn't it? The fact that you can put in subtasks really of a task within a list. And it even says 0 of 3. Whereas if I say, right, I've done that, you can see 1 of 3 are actually done. And you can see that in the summary of the original task. Now, when I said these lists at the top were built-in ones, and I said you could put something on my day, but if you think about it, if I've got something to do for this Affinity Publisher live stream, and I need to do it today, I also need it on the list for Affinity Publisher. Otherwise, I'll lose it. Where did that task go? Did I do that task? Maybe I didn't put it in. You end up putting it in twice. So let's say with this Add to Notion task that I need to do it today. Well, one thing you can do is just say Add to my day. Then when you go back to my day, there is the task, even though it actually belongs in here. So it allows you, first thing in the morning, to do basically a daily review, which is go through all of your projects, all of your lists, and say, well, pick the ones you want to do today. I'll do that today, I'll do that today, I'll do that today. Another thing you can do with it is, go into here, you can mark that as important. And that has the effect of putting it in the important list. Don't think there's a need to have it in my day and important and planned and assigned to me and put tasks on it, but you get the idea. It lives in the Affinity Publisher list, but it's showing in my day and important because I've altered the meta in such a way that it does that. Now, you've got other options with this as well. You can opt to be reminded of it. So there's no way I'm seeing it at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, but you can choose to pick a date and time. So if we said Saturday, probably around the time I'd be up, let's say 1 o'clock in the afternoon then. United playing tomorrow, Mike?
No, Monday.
Oh, Monday, not good. Okay, so 1 o'clock tomorrow, I will get reminded about that. Obviously, for that reminder, you need to have this enabled. Now, when I say enabled, you will choose on what device and what platform you want your notifications. So as long as you've got them enabled on your Mac, you'll be reminded. But you can also, if you have them enabled on your phone, your iPad, or even a browser. So let me show you this in a browser. I can't remember what the address was now, but let's say Microsoft To Do, because that's how I found it before, not To Do. To Do. There we go, todo.microsoft.com. So I think I'm logged in. I should be logged in. I'm liking those little cogs. There we go. So that's me. It's still me. And it's adding it literally in real time down here. So there's what I've just added. There's my day, which has got the 2 tasks in. There's my important. And if we look at this one that I've put, my reminder's there. And the beauty of this is, even if you're working on a Chromebook or in a browser, which would work great for you at work, Mike, because you're not allowed to install anything, are you?
No.
You can, in here, get your settings, and you can say that you want reminders in your browser, and it actually pings. So that's pretty good, that. It started pinging at me when I was looking at it. I thought, what's that noise? And I'm looking around, and I thought, oh, I see what it's doing. It's actually giving me a reminder in the browser. Now, if you don't want that, you can turn it off. But it's quite handy if you are forced to work in a browser. And you can see just what fidelity you get with that as well to the app. The only thing we don't have is the colour at the back, unless you need to turn that on. But pretty good fidelity with it. Now, that's your reminder, but that's not a due date. A due date is something wholly different, so you can pick a day for that. So let's say with this, I want it due on the 2nd of October. Now I'm going to be reminded, but I've also told it that it's due on the 2nd of October. Now, if it's something like an after hours, so let's put in there an after hours. I will just put it in here. So, after hours. This one, of course, repeats. This one would repeat weekly on a Friday. There you go, weekly on Friday. So I've now got a repeating task to be reminded about that. And if I needed to be reminded about that, I can put remind me. And I would want to be reminded next Friday. But 8 o'clock's a bit late to be reminded. I'm going live at 9, but never mind. I'll do it anyway. So that will repeat every week, and it will remind me on that. So let's go back to our add to Notion here. You can also add files to it. So if you've got files that are appropriate for this, you can add them there. And you can also add notes. So you can put all your details about it. So in that regard, it would be, requested by whatever, all in there. I think looking at it, it's deceptive. It looks so basic. It doesn't look like it's even worth giving a second look. Now, Jonathan's saying I'm going to have another look at Apple reminders. Don't like Microsoft buying it and sunsetting it. Well, they've not actually. Well, they're going to sunset the version of it that's called Wunderlist, but all of the good things that were in there, they've rolled into To Do. But I do agree with you. If you can stick with one ecosystem, it's probably better than having it all over the place. I would say the new versions of notes and reminders they're getting there. Problem I have with them is I don't really get on with the inbuilt apps. Mike had a problem when he was trying to set the mail up, didn't you? What wasn't it doing? It was something to do with... Was it adding an account? Your swipes, that was it. You were trying to set up the swipes. And what's simple in an add-in app, and a separate app, was a nightmare. It's like, does this not do this? And basically what he ended up doing was he wanted a swipe that was archive on mail, and then he wanted another swipe that was delete. That's not rocket science. There is no option to delete. But if you add in a swipe to archive, then the alternate swipe automatically becomes delete. Where's that logic coming from? No, I didn't get that either, but that was what was happening. So I'm not a great fan of the built-in apps. That's a very good question, Jonathan, and maybe Mike could find the answer to it. Do you need an Office 365 subscription to use it? It's my understanding it's totally free. I'm thinking there is no way that they could check. It's not part of a 365. There's no way to actually give them money for this at the moment, so I don't think you do. You could try it without an Office subscription, I do believe. Right, I'm reading some comments here. Not work on the Mac until I updated Catalina. Oh no, that's not good, Neil. I did also get a notification. I can't remember if it was reminders or notes, but it gave me a list, and honestly, it must have had like 12 devices in it, and some of my devices were too old to update anyway, which I don't really appreciate with Apple. I think they could find a way around that. But yeah, that's not great. Yeah, Apple Notes and reminders are getting there, but I think you've got the problem with the platforms. I can't see me using them anytime soon. I like to be able to, one of the big things with a Notes app to me is to be able to clip to it from anywhere. I mean, Evernote has its moments. The Evernote Clipper's great, but it's better on desktop than it is mobile. The mobiles, I never get the same thing twice. The one that's working for me and is giving me the same across the board is Notion. There is a Notion Clipper for iOS and it's amazing. It gets rid of all the adverts and all the stuff you don't want. And I would say I've only had maybe one failure out of 100, at which point I will use a different clipper. And the clipper I used instead was Bear. But the Notion Clipper's giving me the most fidelity to what I actually want in a clipper. The Evernote one wasn't brilliant, and which was the other one I was trying? Oh, the OneNote one. That also works when it feels like it.
No, you don't.
Yep, Neil's just said, no, you don't. No, I didn't think you did because there's no way to actually pay for it. So they may roll it in the end. They may give some kind of premium thing over a certain number of lists or something like that. But at the moment, it is completely free to give it a go. Right, so we've got that in there. We've gone through all of the options that you've got over here. Right, one thing that you can do with this is, you can go into here, you've got your rename. You can sort the list in lots of different ways. I mean, it's not OmniFocus if you use that, but you can sort enough, I would say. I'm actually looking at that, Mike, and I'm looking at the sort alphabetical, and I'm thinking of OneNote. Yes, that was missing for years, so at least that's there. You can change the theme as well. And as well as just choosing a different colour, like a purpley, reddy, browny thingy. There you go. Some of these are better than others, aren't they? These aren't bad because they're a little bit paler. But you've got all of these options. But one of the things that's rippled through from Wunderlist is you've got this. You've got pictures that you can put there. Now, I'm not a great fan of doing that. No, that was my wallpaper a good few years ago. I'm not a great fan of putting pictures behind it, but I guess some people are. Not really gripping for me, as far as I'm concerned. Would you use pictures, Mike? You dropped off your twig?
No. No, I don't think I do.
No, I think you'd cover the picture up and it might end up looking a bit odd. Like a visual scunthorping. If you're wondering what scunthorping is, do you want to explain?
No, I'll leave you to it.
Oh dear. Right, we do a lot of work with websites where we have thumbnails. And the thumbnails will have text on them. So the title of a show or the title of a live stream. And the thumbnails get resized as they are uploaded. Not just resized in terms of as it is made smaller, but they get cropped to match a certain ratio. So sometimes it misses off the beginning and the end letters, which on occasion can be most unfortunate in terms of the words that you are left with. So we use the term scunthorping because Scunthorpe Council many years ago implemented a system. What would you say? How would you describe it? It was an automated system to prevent bad language, etc. And they suddenly started wondering why they were getting no email at all. And that was because the email address was something like, username at scunthorpecouncil.co.uk. I will leave it to you to work out what word it was objecting to, or actually no, what string of characters in the word Scunthorpe it was not liking, but it stopped all the mail. So we use that term to mean, if it's like a verb, isn't it, Mike? To Scunthorpe.
Yeah.
I will say to Mike, I've done this graphic. Do you need it a different size or will it Scunthorpe? And what I mean is it will miss off some text and potentially leave you with a very embarrassing word splashed across the screen. And when I look at this, I think, well, you'll only see half the graphic, and given that looks rather phallic to start with, it could be most unfortunate. So I don't see me using that. But you can change the theme if you want. You see, now you've learnt what scunthorping is. Never say you don't learn things here. You can hide the completed tasks, so important on larger projects, and you can actually delete the list if you want to. Now, this particular list, if I was actually doing this for real, we'd have things like add to YouTube as an event. What else would we have, Mike? Add to website.
Neil gets it.
I'm glad you worked that out, Neil. That was the most convoluted explanation. But yes, most unfortunate. Yes, they hoisted by their own petard they were. Right, so I've got a few items on here and I need this to be shared with Mike. So that's what I can do with the share button. Now, you invite via a link. So anyone with a link, blah, blah, blah. So I'll invite via a link. And then I need to choose how I'm sending that link. So I could copy the link. Or I could send it via messages. I'll send it via messages. This will be good. So there it is. This is going to Mike. There we go. Hopefully he'll get that message. So I'll say it's done. Let's see what it says now. No, it's saying there. So I've just got to wait for Mike to get that message and then join it. And then hopefully it should indicate that. Now, you'll notice that my inbox is already shared and my publisher thing down here is showing the shared icon. So your job, Mike, is to get it added to the website and add it to YouTube as an event. So can you do that? Or have you not even got the invitation yet? We'll probably find Mike hasn't got the actual app installed at this stage. Oh dear. Right, in the meanwhile, while you're doing that, I'm going to try and close this app that's causing complete chaos here. I need to close, what is it? Phone View. Phone View's crashed. It's all right. It can crash quite happily. Oh, look at that. Phone View's crashed and it's using 6 gig of memory, so I would very much like that not to be doing that. So let's force quit it. Away you go. Good. That should free me up some memory, shouldn't it? Luckily, I've already backed up my photos. Have you got the message, Mike?
Yes.
Excellent.
And I've added it to one.
To OneNote. That was good of you.
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. He's no idea what... right, so it's in to do. Excellent. Right, now can you mark something off as done so we can see it? Go on. Excellent. Right, so we've marked an after hours as done. And you can see that has automatically put in the fact that there is one on the 4th of October and one on the 11th of October. In fact, I think the reminder's on the 11th, isn't it? And it's coming up on the 4th. Right, can you mark off the add to website rather than marking off the after hours? It's like slow motion, isn't it? You on your phone? Oh, yeah. Good. Right, how long did that take?
Immediate.
Ah, right. So real-time collaboration. Excellent, excellent. So what else have we got down here? Yeah, you can create a group. So if I wanted in my group all the after hours stuff, so I create after hours, and then I wanted in there to put in a list, and I wanted the list to be for 43, which is next week. So let's put after hours 43, and let's put after hours 44. Gone. There we go. And are you in there? You're not, are you? Let me put you in there. There we go. So you can organise via sort of a project level. They're calling it a folder, but you could have, you know, in terms of what I'm doing here, separate, good night, Peter, separate lists within a project. So you can do that as well. Now, did we find out if it linked with Planner?
I think it does link with.
There is another app, would you say, called Planner, which is more of a project management tool, and it links in with that. Now, also, if you use Outlook for your mail, and we tried this, but the problem with it was our account is an Office 365 account. But if you have a school account, and I know quite a few of you work in education, if you've got a school account or an enterprise level account, in Outlook, if you mark something as important, so let's go to our, where's our list? There it is. If you mark something as important, which we've done with this add to Notion here, but if you don't do it in here, if you do it in Outlook, it will automatically show the email as a task, and it will show it in the important section in there. I wish I could show you that, but we couldn't get it working because our account is a standard Office 365 account. But if it's an enterprise account or it's an education account, it's another way of working with your mail. So you can archive the mail, but you will see it in here as something that you need to do. So I think basically they're trying to get you to live outside of your inbox. Now, do you want to assign something to me? Or shall I assign something to you? I'll assign that YouTube one to you. So can I do that? Assign to. Here we go. And I can choose Mike. I've not got anything assigned to me yet. You assign something to me.
Assigned to me.
Good. So that one's turned up. Mike's got a little picture on it. Liking that. You assign something to me. And that should then be the last of the inbuilt lists at the top to have something in it. Which... Oh, good. Right, so that's this one at the top. There you go. My icon appears. And when I go to assign to me, that is in there and I have been assigned to it. So as I say, although it looks fairly basic, it actually is capable of being quite advanced without being overwhelming in features. Because if you've ever looked at OmniFocus or even Things has organisation via tags, and that can get quite complicated quickly. So this one might be the sweet spot. It may be a little bit more feature rich than Reminders from Apple, but not quite the overkill of a fully blown system. I can imagine if we were putting something together reasonably quickly and we just wanted a sort of shared to-do list, I can see us using this, because we did use Wunderlist, didn't we?
We did.
And we used it in just that way.
Extensively.
I can't remember what job we were actually doing with it. I think it was web. I think it was web work, wasn't it? Wasn't it when we did?
It was either web work or MacBites.
I think it was the MacBites website rebuild.
I think you're right.
I remember putting hashtags in on tasks, and it worked really well. So although Wunderlist is now on its last, it's gone into sort of, I mean, it's the other side of maintenance only. I'm not thinking they'll let that buyback happen, but if they do, I will let you know. Why he doesn't start again, I don't know. If he's that passionate about it, he doesn't want it to die. I don't know what he thought would happen to it when it was sold to Microsoft, because Microsoft do that. I think the only thing they've ever bought, and they've not actually completely ripped to shreds, is Skype. And we all expected it, didn't we? But when you think about it, they bought Skype and it's still Skype. I mean, it looks nothing like it, but functionally it's there and it's still called Skype. But I did not see them adding something called Wunderlist to their portfolio. They want things that they don't have to explain. So Microsoft Planner, Microsoft To Do, they want words like that they don't have to say what something actually is. So I must admit, I never thought that was viable. But, so we've seen it on the Mac. We've seen it in a browser. As I said, it is very fully functional in a browser. In fact, there's actually nothing really missing. Apart from the colour, I'm thinking. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, the colour doesn't seem to come through. That's unfortunate. And if the colour doesn't come through, then there's no way that you're going to get the picture to come through. Well, I don't think that's too much of an issue. You can fold up the groups over here, which was one thing I thought was actually very important. But other than that, you have got all the same features that you need, and you've got quick access to all the online versions of the Microsoft apps. I guess how important that is to you depends on what ecosystem you're in. And I must admit, I did use OneNote, but I'm using it a lot less now with Notion. I use PowerPoint when I'm forced to, but other than that, not much. And Excel when I can't get Google Sheets to do it. And other than that, I don't really use their apps. But I can see the benefit of having that, as I say, when Mike's at work. If you've not got much in the way of data, you can use it on the corporate network just by logging into your Microsoft account. So that's one way forward. And it's available on all the platforms. So if you are Android, if you have an Android phone and a Microsoft, an Apple tablet, they are virtually identical. So that is Microsoft To Do. it's amazing to think it's less than 3 months since we looked at version 1, and it just looks a lot better. It feels a lot better. It's got a much more modern feel to it. The iconography is much improved, and it's quite nice that I could see myself using it. And I think it doesn't have the kind of issues that you've got with reminders, where everything's got to be on the same 0.00001 release. But it can exist in a browser, which means you could use it on older kit. They have made Skype worse, you're quite right. I must admit, I'm not a great fan of Skype. I tend to use it like a telephone. If I want to make a call, I go into it. Other than that, I don't bother. We did a while back, before Slack, create a kind of chat that was persistent. So Mike and I could go in and put things in, not in real time, as it were, where the other one could pick it up later. But to be honest, I barely use Skype. And when I do, it's literally, I treat it like a phone from the 1900s. I go in, I make a call, and then I come out again. But they didn't subsume it into sort of, Microsoft telephony. I could see them having an app called Microsoft Phone, and they didn't. Maybe they thought with that one it was established enough that they didn't want to do that with it. I'm actually surprised that lynda.com got bought out by LinkedIn, and then Microsoft bought LinkedIn, and they're still around, which is quite surprising. But there you go. That was Microsoft to do. All right, let's head back in here. What have we got next? Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is following on from something that we discussed a couple of weeks back. It's an app in its own right. It's completely free and it's cross-platform. So it works on Windows, it works on the Mac. Now, the problem it is trying to solve, you may remember we talked about stationary pads, and we all got rather giddy about stationary pads. A stationary pad is the one on the left. You make a file and you bring up the properties and you put a tick in a box next to the words stationary pad. And that means it's now a template, and every time you double click on it, when it opens, it makes a duplicate of it, hence the green one on the right. If you want to make changes to the original, take the tick out of the box, open it up, make the changes, save it, put the tick back in the box. And of course, you can create as many copies of that as you want. And that was what we were talking about when it was like, that's amazing. And it is, because it solves a problem with apps like Affinity that don't have inbuilt templating. So I have a template for Affinity Designer for the MacBites posters, and I double click on it and it creates me a new file. I name the file and I start working on it. And I'm not concerned that I've edited the original. That doesn't happen. But that's great as far as it goes. But here's the problem. What if, on the left-hand side, what I need duplicating is more than one file? So it's maybe a folder with 3 files in it, or maybe it's a folder structure with 30 files in it. There's my problem. Well, that's the problem that Post Haste solves. So it allows you to build collections of folders and or content, so files within folders, and basically treat that collection of content as a template that you can make duplicates of. In fact, it will even rename some of the stuff for you. It's pretty amazing stuff. So let's have a look at it. So just to remind you where we were, let's go into here and let's go onto the desktop. Right, let's say that I have a text file. So I'll go into text edit and I'll make a text file. So let's have one of those. Text file. It doesn't matter what the file type is, but I'm going to save it. And I will save it into here. Move that down so I can see it. Put that into the desktop. And I'll say that's my template. Right, and it's a rich text file. So save that to the desktop. Right. Bring up the get info on it, and one of the options is stationary pad. So here's what happens if I just double click it. It just opens. And if I made changes, the changes would be in that file. But if I put a tick in Stationery Pad and I double click it, I instantly get a copy, and then I would make my changes in here. Changes added to the file. Save that. Open up that original one again. It gives me another copy, and I'm back to the text that was in that original template. That's the concept of a stationery pad. It's incredibly simple, but it's very powerful. But it only really does you any good when the template that you need is just one file. So that's where we're at with that. In fact, I'll leave that as a... What have you got on there for? You're supposed to be doing that. I was just going to leave that. That's better, as a stationery pad, and we'll put all of those in a folder. So that was our stationery pad demo. Now, I'll show you something that's actually real here. In MacBites, there we go. In episodes, we actually have a template. So when I do a new MacBites, it's complicated. Let's fold them up. We have the template folder at the top level. I then have audio files, and in my audio files, I have 4 subfolders. And then in the show, I have 7 subfolders, each of which does different things. Then I've got a Hindenburg file, which has a folder attached to it. And in there, I've got all of these. Now, there's no way a stationery pad is going to handle all of that lot. So what needs to happen when I create MacBites 123, oh, I wonder when that could be, is I would actually need to duplicate that entire folder structure. Now, it says Google Drive next to it because that's where it was. And I was in the process of building it up, so I knew that that one was the one I was working on. But in essence, what I want is that entire folder to be a stationery pad. Now, I can make it a shared folder and I can make it locked, but stationery pad, not really an option, because it's working on an individual file, and that's not an individual file. So let's have a look how big that is. How big is it? 26 meg, that's fine. I will make a copy of that and I will put it over here. And now, of course, it's not the Google Drive one, but what I will do is say that it is the template for MacBites. So I'll get rid of the word Google Drive and put that there. Okay. What I need is a method of creating for myself a copy of that where everything gets renamed automatically. That would be amazing. And that's what Post Haste does. So as I say, it's a completely free app. And I've actually already created some stuff in it. I've been using it for quite a while. The only reason I ended up with that template on Google Drive was I was working through the template I'd created in Post Haste, as you'll see if I show you, was MacBites, but it was when I was using Audition, which is a very different beast to Hindenburg. So what you've got in here is, from scratch, you'll have some samples, but they probably won't work for you. But if you go into, before you create a new project with it, if you go into templates, this is where you define what's in a template. So I'm going to create one from scratch, but first of all, I'll show you what you've got here. These are some of the built-in ones. So there's a folder in there, After Effects, there's an Illustrator folder, there's a Photoshop folder and a Production Documents folder. Within each one, there is a file, and you can see that that is named Template and it's in brackets. To use that, once you've defined it in here, all you need to do is go and make a new project, choose the project template, so that one was motion graphics. There's the project name, which you can change if you want to. So I will make sure that one says motion graphics and it's version 1 of motion graphics. Right, gives you a preview of what that will look like, and then you create the project. So it will prompt you and say, where do you want to create this? And I want to create it on the desktop. And save. And what it will do is generate for you a folder with the name you gave it. Inside it are the 4 folders that you had defined in Post Haste. And inside each of these, you will have a file. And it's named correctly. It takes its name from what you typed in for the project name. And it has done that all the way through. Like that. Which is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Good night, Stephen. Now, it's pretty good that you can do that with one of the built-in ones, but the power of it comes when you make your own. So I'll just show you with the photography one, you've got your Photoshop file and your production again. In the video one, you've got a couple more. In that one, you've got less, and there's a web design template. Now, whether that suits your... I don't think anybody works like that, to be honest. I don't think you create a blank Photoshop file, but never mind. Maybe some people do. I'm much more likely to want real content in there. So if we look at when I do a webinar, this is what I create. This is horrific. Right, I have my original source materials in folder 0. Then I create a lossless version of that for ScreenFlow. Then I create a version for export, and I actually have a Camtasia file and a ScreenFlow file ready to go. The name of that lets me know what I should be calling it. Then I have my final output that's lossless, so very high quality. Then I create a Handbrake version, which is much smaller. I have a whole thing going on with my chapter markers. I create an OGG version of them. I have a text version. There's the Excel file. There's a topic list in text format, and those are my subtitles. And then I've got these extra folders. So I have backups, I create promo, and if I make a slide cast, that will be in there. Now, that didn't come with it. I made that. So you could do that. I've got a webinar folder for Mike, which has all of his assets in it. And then I've got a YouTube video, which is even more complicated. Look at this. Do you know, you think doing a YouTube video is so simple. Oh, it's not. It's horrible. There's so many different things. The reason that it's worthwhile taking the time and doing it like that is when you've got 50 videos, you're like, where did I put X asset? And you'll never find it. So just having the original source materials all together is such a boon. If you think about tonight, you saw a video, which was our unboxing. And that was fairly simple. It was a 10-minute video. Not complicated. Anybody could do that. Just hold a phone. Right. The bit at the door was with my iPhone 7 Plus because my 11 hadn't arrived. The audio was off the phone. Then we brought the boxes upstairs and I had my webcam on the desk recording that, and we had the audio going through the microphone that I'm using now. So by the time I'd finished, I had my audio, Mike's audio, the backup audio, I had the video of the webcam, and I had the video from my phone. And when I came to sit down and edit it, I thought, oh, it's a simple job. I don't need to bother with all this file structure stuff. Couldn't find a thing. Not helped by the fact that my audio recording that I was looking for, that I was convinced would be called iPhone, was actually called After Hours because I'd forgotten to rename it. So at least if I'd put the whole lot in an original source materials folder, I would have known where it was. That's why this is such a help, that it is worth taking the time. So let's create a new one. So let's just call this live stream. Recording thereof, right? I now have a template. There's nothing in it. Now, obviously, the fastest way to do this would just be, can't I just copy one? Well, you can. But just to show you what this does, not automatically, but it's there for you to do, is if you hit the plus at the bottom, it has what it calls custom templates. Now, this gets a bit confusing because it says templates at the top and it's referring to these down the left-hand side because it says the word templates. So when it says manage custom templates, I think it would be safe to assume it was the things on the left-hand side of the screen. But it's not. It means these project files in here. So that's a Motion 4 project, that's a Motion 5 project, that's a Photoshop file. You can see there's various versions of After Effects and Premiere Pro. This is what it's referring to when it says Manage Custom Templates. So you could choose at the lowest level to go and find some project templates and actually add them in there. Now, when I say project templates, let's open up one of these again. Let's take that one. It's going to make a duplicate. All that is a text file, if you remember. It's just a text file. So let's say I want that to be instructions or subtitles. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. And I'm going to open it up and I'm going to actually put the word in there. These are the instructions. There we go. Now let's say I have something like that in every one of my projects. Then what I could do with it is drag it into my project templates. And if you look at the bottom, you can see where it's going. It's going in my user folder, library application support, digital rebellion. That's the people who make post haste, project templates, instructions. Right. Now, just to be absolutely certain that it's available, let me have a look here. I do recall last time I needed to quit it and go back into it. Police are having a raring old time tonight, aren't they, Mike? Careering past outside. That's about the 5th one. Maybe they're looking for a flatbed with an ATM on top of it. Right, so we were in here and I had gone into templates. I had gone into my live stream recording and I'd said, I want to add something. Right, there is the custom template that I've added. But remember what a custom template is. It's an actual element of a template. That is the wrong terminology. But there you go. So I think a template is at this level. This should be documents. This should be managed custom documents or something like that. That's a document. But I can actually choose to put that in there. And it gives me an opportunity to rename it. If I leave it named as template, when I give it a name at this level here, project name, when I put a project name in there, that file will be renamed to my project name. I can also then go in here and put extra folders in it. So let's say that's my source materials. And this is how you build it up. You build it up like that. Maybe I want a new folder. And this one is all of my instructions. And I would like to put that inside it. And you can do that. It's wanting me to confirm, but it will do it. There you go. That's the long-winded way of doing it. There is a much faster way, which is good news. Remember this that I brought over. This is, don't open up on the wrong screen. This is actually my Hindenburg setup. I only have 2 top-level folders. One is sort of pre-production, this is the contents, and one is the post-show stuff, which is my show art, recording notes, the show notes that go into Ulysses to be published as a blog post, the bit that goes in Feeder, the bit that goes out in the mail. A bounce is an export of an audio file, so my bounces go in there, and that's the version that's downloaded. So it's a very intricate folder structure. There's actually nothing in there apart from my not in use folder. So the majority of this, certainly in folder 1, is folders. There's no files in it, it's just folders. In 2, I do have the show art. That's the show art. And the show art is the same in every show. The post is different, but the show art's the same. All of these are blank. These get content added at the point that I create them. But the exception here is this folder, which is where Hindenburg stores its files. And if I open that, there are all the files that Hindenburg has if I were to open that file. So it would look for our cartoon ooh and our sad trombone in that folder. And there they are listed over here. So if I wanted to hear that, which I doubt you'll hear, but I'll give it a go. Let's get these headphones off. Maybe you can hear it. Let's try that. Just proving the point, it is actually playing. So those files are all of this lot. So that folder and that file need to travel together. So what I actually have in there, well, that is exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. So back in here, I'll make Hindi 2. I'll do it from scratch. So MacBites, and it is the Hindi version, but it's Hindi 2. Right, what do I need to do then? Well, when I go through it and I choose a template, it makes a top level folder for me. And it puts in it everything that is in, so there's 4 folders there, in that window, which was that one. So there are the 4 folders. So in essence, all I need to do in Hindi 2 is drag and drop that lot up there. That's it. I can get and do niceties if you like. I don't need to do anything with any of these. But that there, it would be very nice if that file, instead of being called Hindenburg, was actually called MacBites and then whatever number. And you've seen that you can do that by putting in a placeholder or a variable, which is the word template. Doesn't even have to be in square brackets, but I'll put it in square brackets. And that's it. So because I had a template already, and most people who are doing jobs like this have probably got a folder structure, and they probably manually duplicate it. You don't need to do that. Right? That's what Post Haste is for. It's like a stationery pad on steroids. So let's go back and say a new project. And this time, how I named the MacBite shows, as you saw, let's go and have another look, be absolutely certain. They were in MacBites episodes. That is how they're named. MacBites _ and a number. So we've got everything there. There's a couple missing, isn't there? But that's 108A. And then we got all these going up to 122. So we want 123. Fastest way to do that's just to copy 122, isn't it? So in here, I'm specifying the value for the parameter now, which is going to be MacBites 123. And all I need to do is to create the project. And I'll put it on the desktop and save it. It names the folder correctly as MacBites 0123. And when I open it, that's not right at all, is it? What on earth has it done? Whoa, did I put that in the right place? I'm sure I did. I did. Whoa. That's a new one. Okay, I'm going to quit that and go back in. I must have upset it in some way. I must have upset it. But I can assure you this works seamlessly, she said. Right, I'm going to get rid of that lot now. And let's do it again. Let's do it. Oh, I know what I did with it. Silly me. Right, at the top, you need to choose a project template. That's what I didn't do. I didn't choose Hindi 2. My mistake. Not a post-haste fault. My mistake. Hoisted my own petard. So you can actually choose any of these. So I'll choose Hindi 2, only because you saw me create that one. And then I will go and create the project. And I will put that on the desktop. And now it should work. So let's go into that. It will open it for me when it's finished. There it is. And there's the right files. That one is now named correctly. So you can see it's MacBites 123. And that was the only thing I needed renaming. Everything else is now just there and I'm ready to go. I could actually open up that file and I could get to work on MacBites 123. Now, the one thing I do have to do is go into here. See, it says 117. That's because that was when I made the template. So I have to remember to go in there and do that. And at the end of the year, I'll have to remember to go in and make sure that it says 2020. Can we categorically say, Mike, the 123 will be out before 2020?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. So you saw us create the framework for 123. Right, we've got a question there. So let's come out of that and have a look. Yes, we will save that. And let's see what that question is. Does it integrate with Scrivener? What kind of thing are you trying to get it to do? It will work with any file. So if I had a file in there, let's go back into the templates and let's go to Hindi 2. And let's say the recording notes actually had a Scrivener file in. So let's do that. So let's go into Scrivener. It probably opened my email file, which is massive. It is, it's opening my email file, but never mind. There we go, that's my email file. I will make a new project and we'll do it as a blank one. And we'll choose and we'll put it on the desktop, even though that's not the best idea. Let's say these are the show notes and create. So we don't need that, which is my email. Right, so we've got this. Now you could build up whatever you wanted in the draft thing. So let me just put a few of these in so we've got something. Right, and let's say that's a template for it. So make sure that's saved, come out of it, and there is the show notes. If I wanted that, I've called it show notes, let's say it's recording notes. Right, recording notes. If every time we do a show we have a Scrivener file we want to put that in, then all I would have to do is add that into the recording notes folder in Post Haste. And then when I generate a new project, MacBites Hindi 2, this time of course, oh we're getting ahead of ourselves here Mike, we have 124, create the project on the desktop. It creates 124, but it will use the new template. So go in there, go into show, go into recording notes, and there is my Scrivener file. So if you mean, can you have a Scrivener file within the folder structure? Absolutely. If you mean something else, can you just let me know what is the something else you mean? But yes, as a starting point, you can certainly do that. You could even do that if it was just, you know, basic stuff. Having said that, I've just had a thought. A Scrivener file is... We've actually got Scrivener coming up. We've got Scrivener coming up, so hang around for that. Not tonight, but we have it coming up shortly. Right, a Scrivener file is a self-contained package. So if I say show package contents, this is the internal workings of a Scrivener file. So... that should, and you know, don't go in here and change stuff or you'll break it. But because it's self-contained, I'm just contemplating. No, it won't let you do it as a stationery pad. That's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So yes, Post Haste could work on a single file. I don't know why you wouldn't just duplicate it, but you could technically do it. Let's have a look. A Scrivener file. Let's just add one file into it like that. And then let's do a new project. Only this time we'll say it's Scrivener work. So there's only one file in it and it's a Scrivener file. Create a project, stick it on the desktop, and it will then create a copy of that rather than changing the original. It's a starting point basically. If you want to put it with other content, you can. But if you don't, if you just want to be able to do that, then you could do it just on its own. Obviously, the power of it comes when you've got something like my Hindi set up there. That means for me, whenever I create a MacBites, I'm pretty much done. I mean, this is the one that I use, that file there. That is the one I actually use. You can see I called it template with a capital T and no brackets, and it still works. And it just saves so much time. What happens as soon as we've recorded a MacBites is I pass my files from the studio into where I'm working right now, and it goes in that dialog folder. I grab Mike's files and they go in the dialog folder. Anything that I need for sound effects goes in the sound effects folder. Siri sends Siri's work in, and that goes in the Siri folder. General is basically anything else. So maybe we've got some music that we're playing. General means anything else. And at that point, I tend to start the edit, but if for whatever the reason I can't, at least I know where everything is. So I can't emphasize the power of just knowing where everything is too much. It saves so much time. And I should take my own medicine, because what was I like tonight, Mike, when I said I can't find that file? And then I said, oh, it's called the wrong thing. Yes, I should. Do you know why I didn't? Because I haven't created something for a general video edit. Which is something I should do. I should get rid of these web templates. I'm never going to use these. Never, ever, ever going to do that. Another thing you could do, Deb, if it's one file, one Scrivener file, and maybe you use it to describe a project or something like that, you should be able, in here, let's see if you can. you should be able to manage your custom templates and add it in there. So let's make that Scrivener instructions. So this is something, let's say that you put in a lot of projects and it's always the same. So let's drag it into the project templates. You do have to shut that down and then open it again so it will reread it in. Right, at this point, we need to go into the templates and add it. So instead of having that from there, let's say they're the recording notes, and let's say I want some instructions. So I add a folder, and there's my instructions. And then I want to add inside the folder a Scrivener file, and there is my Scrivener instructions, and that will add it, calls it template, away we go. So if I go back to the project and give it another name, so this is Scrivener with a folder structure, you could do it that way. So create that, desktop again, let it strut its stuff, open it up. There's the recording notes that I named recording notes, and in the instructions it's taken the top folder name, so basically the project name in there. So you could take that as far as you want to take it, to be honest with you. You've also got a few preferences which are worth mentioning. You'll notice that the template location is actually my Dropbox. The reason I do that is I want all of these available on my laptop when I'm working away from home. So putting them in Dropbox, they work that way. It's an option whether you open the folder after you've created it. You can have post-haste quitting when you've done that. You can show notification center alerts, which I left on because it doesn't really bother me much. You can show your recent projects. I don't send the data, but then you've got some security options. Now within your projects, you can create a fixed project location. So if you only use this for one type of project, I could actually have that pointing at MacBites and just put them there. You can automatically rename them called templates, which is what I wanted it to do. So that is an option. If you try this and it's not working, you need to put a tick in that box. You can have parameters where you specify a parameter. And the reason that's important is you could create a unique project ID. So how that would work is I could create a unique project ID for MacBites and it would automatically start calculating it. It would add 1 to it next time. I pretty much only have project name in there, but you can create as many of these as you want. And how that is shown, the parameters are here. So here you've got project name and you define it. In the interface where you're actually using it, you have the parameter name, not the details, but you get to specify the value from there. And you've got global hotkeys if you want to have it launch automatically without needing to do all of that. But it's a fairly simple app, but it's going to save you so much time. And a lot of the stuff with it is automatic. So it's from, who do we say it was from? I think you can get to it from Pro Media Tools, Digital Rebellion. If you click that icon, it shows you the stuff that they make that you can actually buy, which is media and workflow management for video professionals. So you can get way more advanced with that if you want, with the stuff that they actually sell. But Post Haste is a free one. So I thought it was worth looking at in regard to people were so excited with Stationery Pad. I thought you'd like to see Post Haste. So that was actually a freebie. We should include that in tonight's freebies. But we've got freebies tonight. We have our usual from Creative Market. Some decent ones this time. Got nice fonts in there. And also some vector pencil elements. One that I thought was very, very strange was the one in the lower left. I actually went in and unpacked those holographic backgrounds. Whoa! On acid much. I couldn't think of anything that I would use those for, but I downloaded them anyway. One day I'm going to take you through some of these. I will do one day. Now, are you in the right place to share these links, Mike?
Yeah.
Good. Because the next one I've got is a limited edition thing. I think it's only available until the end of the month. And it's called Design Elements, and it's from iStock Photo. And it's a collection of vector icons that are sort of flat, but they've also got that kind of angled drop shadow on them. You'll notice, you may notice, let's go back. See the stamp? The stamp was one of the freebies there in the middle. So, pretty decent stuff. Maybe not to use it like that. Maybe separate them out and use them in different ways. But because they're vector, they scale. So they're the kind of things that I put in presentations to sort of mitigate the text in there. So that one is free. You also have from the nice people at Shutterstock. This one is a free Instagram pack. And as I say, it's from Shutterstock. They actually provide these on a fairly regular basis. Although it said Instagram, they're basically icons and you could use them for anything. So if you are a Notion user and you upload icons to all your pages, you could use these as a starting point and recolor them. I've got a lot there on the page, but, looked at individually, each one could mean something. So maybe you've got a gift list and there's a gift list there, lower left, or a computer, lower left. So you can never have too many icons is what I say. And they're available free right now. All of those freebies will work in Affinity. So just because they're Illustrator files or they're EPS files does not mean they will not work in Affinity. They will work in Affinity. Now, my number one request lately has been, how do I do a trifold brochure? Now, before you even go any further, you need to make an absolute decision about what application is right for you to use to create it. If you don't have a publisher, then obviously Designer will be the right application for you. But if you do have publisher, is publisher the right choice? It's going to depend. It's going to depend on how you're printing it and what you want to do with it. Because just because it's a trifold brochure doesn't mean it's going straight for print. It might do, it might not. And if it's going to be printed out, how is it going to be printed out? Is it going to be printed out where it gets sent to a printer, where you've seen my stuff go off for print, and then you hope and pray it looks like what you want it to look like when it comes back? Or could it be it's going to be printed in-house? In which case you have to think about the interim stage, which is the stage that it gets to between Affinity Publisher and or Designer and the printed output. So does it need to go through a print-ready PDF? Is it being printed straight from Affinity? Those are the kind of things you need to think about. The biggest thing you need to think about at the point you're choosing the application that you're going to use is, do you need to do anything else with it? Now, one request I had was they wanted to be able to produce a trifold brochure, but each panel in that brochure needed to be showcased on the website. And I thought, really? Oh dear. That took me towards Designer. So think about the output before you think about anything else. But I'm going to show you in Designer first. But even before we get that far, I will show you one thing to think about. Is we have lots of stock photo sites that we use, etc. And there is one that is a paid for thing. I think it's $14.99 a month. It's worth every penny. Is Elements at Envato. Now, if I put in here trifold and do a search, I've got graphic templates here. Now, even if you don't intend to use these, even if you're just looking for inspiration, it's a great place to go and find inspiration as to how are other people doing it. You know what a trifold looks like, but then try and design one. So if you think about something like that one or even that one, let's go and have a look at them. You've got a triangle there, but it's not restricted to that panel. It goes across that. If we look at this one, the way they've done that, you've got the darker colour at the bottom on one of them and higher up on the other one. So sometimes when you're designing it, you just freeze and you think, I just want it to look great and I'm not quite sure how it will look great. So one thing you could do is actually go and look at samples from other people. That one there, the fact the font is so big and it's bold, maybe that would work for whatever it is that you want to do. If you do have a subscription, when you come to download it, if it's an InDesign file, you will not be opening that in Affinity Publisher yet. Notice the yet there. They're working on it. But you can see all the formats it's supplied in. So you've got Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, and encrypted PostScript. You've even got a Word version. I know. And a Pages version. Now it says in here file types and it only lists 4. But this one definitely says Word and Pages. So let's use that as an example and let's download that and show you what's actually in these things. Sometimes you can get these free of charge. If this is the thing that's free this month, then you would be able to do that. It just depends if it's one of the freebies, but just really to show you what you get inside it. And again, just use it for inspiration. Look how wide that margin is, and yet the headings are pulled back. They kind of stand out more. That's quite a big file by the look of it there. Look at these. That is 100 meg. It's not actually that big. So while it's doing it, we can go through and have a look at it. So it's showing you both sides of that there. There's the inside. Okay. So once that's finished downloading, I will open that and show you what is actually in here. I did open one of these with Word and it was like not good. I'm sure it would open in Word, but you know, you're going to have one of those problems where you are struggling with it if you are doing it in Word. I think we're almost done. Almost done. Let me open up that. And you've opened up on the wrong screen, but never mind. Are you almost done? I do believe you could be. Right, it's finished. So I'm unzipping it. Shouldn't take too long to unzip it. And that's what's in it. So let me bring that on and show you. That's what's in it. So despite the fact it only mentions Illustrator, EPS, Photoshop, and what was the other one? InDesign. You can see there's lots more than that in it. You do have a Pages file. You do have, in fact, there's Pages 09, A4 and letters. You've got 2 different sizes. You've got different file formats. You have got your Word one. So let's open up the Word one. Let's see how bad that is. I'm sure there's somebody who is forced to using Word to do this. I'm glad it's not me. It can be done. You just the print isn't going to be as impressive as it might be. But when you look at that, and you look at the thumbnails, that's not actually bad. So let's take that down. Obviously the font's missing, which is why this doesn't look quite the same. But in terms of layout, that's not bad. That is not bad. And you do have all the things that you need there, and you can then go in and edit all of those things. So even if you don't have Affinity, there you go. And we have a spinning beach ball. Go away, Word. Right, don't save that. Now, what do you do if you want to start with it in Affinity? Well, you could look at the Photoshop version. Affinity will read Photoshop files, but it will also read Illustrator files and EPS files. It's probably very little difference between opening the 2 of them. Just the fact that the EPS is twice the size. But in terms of fidelity, technically speaking, I would use the EPS, but the other one's smaller. So you could open both and just have a look. First thing to decide is what size you want. Well, we want A4. I guess we could have a look at the Pages version while we're at it, couldn't we? Let's have a look at that. Yeah, we've even got Pages 09. So again, it has missing fonts, but it will actually show you what the fonts are. So Calibri should actually be there because I've got that. And the others are called Prompt. So it tells you what's missing. And there it is. So it's a great starting point if you don't want to build your own from scratch. But you might want to. You might need to. Let's open that up in Affinity Publisher. But I actually intend to start from scratch. You've all gone very quiet. You're still awake. Right, so we'll open that up, and that's pretty decent. Now, it's telling me it's done US web-coated, blah, blah, blah. That's all to do with the print, which we looked at last week. Doubtless you will remember. Now, in here, we actually have the correct-looking font. Problem with it is, when we look at it, it's curves. So we have complete fidelity with what it should look like, but we're not editing it anytime soon. And the other thing is, when we look at it, it's just the one page as well. But it's all laid out properly and everything. So it does work. We can actually open it. Oh, good grief. Each one of these letters is an individual layer. Look at this. Curves, 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 curves. My word. So, but you can do that. So it's a starting point for you. But by far the best way to start is just to start from scratch. So let's do that. So File, New. You have a range of options when it comes to new documents, and you know that you have Print, Press Ready, and you have Print. So again, first thing to think about, is it going to press to be printed, or are you printing it? If you're printing it, then I would probably go for Print, but on the off chance, you could go for Press Ready. It needs to be A4. Oh, I'm glad about that, Deb. 6:10 a.m. That's alarming. Do you know, I was at a webinar the other night and it was 2 a.m. when I joined, and I didn't leave until about 10 to 4. It was a good webinar, what can I say? Right, millimeters. Do I want preferred or linked? Do I want linked or embedded? Now, I always like embedded because otherwise I send it for print and then there's something missing, so I usually go for embedded. Do I want a default master? Well, my masters aren't really going to matter too much, so I'll say yes. But I do want 2 pages, 2 sides. Do I want it portrait? Well, think about a trifold brochure. Unlikely. You could do, though. I have seen them. I would tend to call that a trifold mailer. And that's where you've got one panel that's the address, and the panel is landscape, in which case the A4 sheet would be portrait, but it's unlikely. So we won't have it portrait. We'll go for wider than tall. Then you've got your DPI. That's going to depend on the instructions from your printer. Now, facing pages. In this case, it doesn't actually matter because one's going to be the back of the other. It really doesn't matter. The other settings in here are going to depend on your print. So I'm going to assume that this is going to print. In which case, how I would set this up in here is CMYK. And the one that our print service uses, I'm frantically looking, it was Frogra, wasn't it? Fogra. Frogra 28, I'm reliably informed, is what? Was it was it 29? No, that's uncoated. Wasn't ours coated? Was it?
Coated, yeah.
It was coated. It was Fogra 28 if it was coated. Alternatively, if you're not sure, just go for generic CMYK. But we were definitely shown. Do you know, it could have been uncoated. The cover was coated, wasn't it? You find out, Mike. I'll choose 29 and we'll see how we go. But you set up those 2 things in there. Right, in the margins. Now, the margins aren't really going to make much difference in terms of the printing. This is for you. How close do you want the content to the edge? So that it will show you the margins as a line and you can work out where you want to put your stuff. So I would say here, I tend to have them at 10. So I would put 10 and I link that together here. That means when I move on, it sets them all to 10. But at the bottom, I might want to disable that and put 15 just at the bottom. And that way I've got space if I want to put anything like pages or whatever. Now, then there's the bleed. Now, this is to do with print. If you don't intend to send this to print, then you don't need a bleed, because there aren't many domestic printers that will print right to the edge, if any. Because a printer needs to actually physically pass the paper through the printer, and it does that by grabbing the edges. And that's why there is a non-printable area on a domestic printer. But if it's going out to print, you're going to need a bleed, and a standard bleed is 3mm. At which point, you've set up everything in there, so you can click OK. And there you are, good to go. Now, you've got a couple of bits missing at this point, though, haven't you? You can actually get started. Oh, if you print in-house on a normal printer, the trifold brochures seem to print with the second page upside down. If there's a solution to that, can you show it? It's all to do with whether you tell it to... now, what's the actual term it uses? It's something like flip on the long edge or the short edge. And if you want it the same way up, you flip on the short edge. So I'll show you that. Remind me, Mike. when I've got something to print. Right, so I've got my page. I've got my margin, that's what the blue bit is showing me. And that dark bit here, that's the bleed. Now, we looked at bleeds extensively last week, and I don't intend to go over it all again, but just in case, right, I will add in here a placeholder. If I put my placeholder there, I'm right up to the edge of it, but a bleed allows me to move some of that into an area where if the printer is not quite right, so when it comes to cut it, it's marginally off, and I'm talking, less than 1 millimeter. Part of my image is in the bleed area, and you'd get a white edge if there was nothing there. So that's why you push your images or your background into the bleed. And that's where it is. So bleed, your margin area, and then your safe content area in the blue bit. Okay, but we're still a bit missing. And the bit that we're missing is, that's an A4 page that you're going to fold into 3. And how, pray tell, are you doing that? At what point are you folding it into 3? Well, the easiest way I found to set this up, just sling that on it and make it the right height. It doesn't matter what width you specify. Now, obviously, that's not right. That's not, let's move it a fraction. That here is not 1/3 of the page. That's not 1/3 of the page, and that definitely is not 1/3 of the page. But if we do this with it, which is make it, so it's just a shape, and it is the full size of an A4 shape here now. I'm not interested in the height. It's 21 from the top edge to the bottom. So 21 centimetres, 210 millimetres. But if I go into that area there, it's 297 millimetres. Now you've got a couple of options here. 297 divided by 3 is 99. So one option I've got is to go in there and put 99. At which point, that is indeed 1/3 of my page. And if I duplicate that and push it to that end, now I can visualize my blocks for my trifold. Right, I'm going to undo that because maybe you're working with a custom paper size and you don't know you would know what size it is because it's down there, but then you're thinking, I've got to divide that by 3, what's the answer to that? Then I've got to remember it, and then I've got to copy it, and then I've got to paste it into there. So one thing you could do is down here, just type in /3. And that means divide the figure that's in this box by 3. And it will automatically calculate for you. So now it's 99. We knew it was 99, but it will do it for you. So Affinity is very helpful. Now, at that point, if you want a panel behind each 1/3 of this document, then great. You might want that one to be one colour and this one to be another, and even a different one in the middle. So just duplicate. If you're wondering how I'm duplicating, I'm holding down the Option key and I'm dragging. So we could change those. We could have all kinds of lurid colours, couldn't we? Oh, we could do that. Nice. And each one is an area of it. But what if you want it, domestic printing? What if you don't want anything going to the edge? And actually, is that right? If that was exactly what I wanted, is that right? And the answer is no, it's not, because I've forgotten the bleed. These blocks of colour would need to go into the bleed. That's the essence of a bleed. So if it's not domestic printing, take it into the bleed, like that. Okay. Now, one thing we can do, would you create a master page? Is this the better way or just another way? I'm just setting up this particular page. If I was going to have the same blocks of colour in the same place, I would put them on a master. But I'm actually just showing you that if you want a blank white background, one way to divide the page into 3 is to do what I've done. So I've got the individual blocks, and then you can pull on a ruler and it will actually snap to where I've put the colours, and then I don't want the colours. And now my page is divided into 3. So really just showing that you can get that whether you do that or not. So if it's domestic printing and it's a white background and you don't want any blocks of colour in it, of course you can create blocks and they can be white if you want. And maybe a neater way is to do that. And here's why that might be a neater way. You have a text frame tool. And you might want to do that and make sure that your text snaps correctly. But then you've got a problem. Is that right? Well, it certainly looks right. I've got this text frame and it's snapped beautifully all round it. But it's still not right. It's not right because you have a centimetre at the top, a centimetre at the left-hand side, and 15mm at the bottom. But you do not have a margin here. So you can see that that is 89. So actually that would need to go back to 79. And now I have a centimetre round there as well. Now that's right. I can command and copy, option and copy that, get it in the middle and do exactly the same over there. And I've got my text frames. You could put a gutter in it, but just for speed, I think you can visualise it there. So you can certainly, there are lots of ways that you could work around it. And I'm going to put some text in. So in this one here, these are 3 individual text frames at the moment, and I would leave them that way. If what I wanted to put in was panel 1 is about bread, and panel 2 is about pasta, and panel 3 is about something else, sauces. But if it's a story that's going through these, then you'll need to link them together. So one thing you can do is go to text and choose to insert filler text, and it will fill it for you so you can visualize it better. You then have this little icon down there with a chain on it. And if you click that and then move over another text frame, you can link the two together. And the reason that that's now got text in it is that it knows this is dummy text, and it knows that if I'm linking these together, I'm probably trying to visualize that. So with this one selected, click the little triangle again, and then move on to the last one. Excellent. Did quite well there. At that stage, you've got to work on the fact, is this the inside or the outside? And it's up to you to kind of visualize it. You are going to design this in here in terms of, I'd say that's probably going to be the inside. You tend to concentrate on the inside. You probably, with the outside, which would then be page 2, want to have something in the middle on the back. What I tend to do is use the back for addresses or logos or anything like that. But what you can do is from in here, we could take all of those. So I'm using the Shift key and I'm selecting them, and let's go in there and paste them. And now all I need to do is put that at 99, because we know that that was 99. There we go. And add another one at 18 or 98. And we're pretty much set up there. Not bad at all. These are still linked together. I don't want the one in the middle. I want this to go to that maybe, but probably not. What you've got to now think is, oh, which is which? Well, I don't want the one in the middle. That's going to be the back. And what I would probably do is, do we have, I thought we had some MacBites assets. It doesn't look like we do. Never mind. I'll improvise and put a MacBites logo on it. There we go. I shall put a little square logo on it there. So that would be my back cover. Let's get that down to 40. And I'll put that in the middle at the back, which means that this side is probably the front. So we'll get rid of the text. And then I would be marking this out as I went, showing me that that is the front. So that is my panel for the front. This then becomes the inside edge that when somebody opens that, that's the first thing they see. So in terms of how this text that we've got in it flows, one thing to be very careful about is which one is attached to which. Is this actually attached to anything? Well, if we go back in here and we take out the filler text, we can see it isn't. That is not attached to anything. But think about what we want. Could it be we want that in there and then the text flowing through to here? To be honest, probably not. I think this panel would stand alone as it is. It's just a matter that we need to think about how the text would actually flow. I'm trying to undo that there, but never mind. Let's do that again and get some filler text in it, just so we can visualize it. Insert filler text. Right. So this is going to be panel 1 of the inside, panel 2 of the inside, panel 3 of the inside. And then this one here is the front cover, the back cover, and what their eyes will rest on the right-hand side as they actually go into it. And that is really it for actually setting it up. So the techniques to think about are, do you need a bleed or not? That's going to depend on who's printing it or not. If we work on the assumption that no, you're not, I'll be able to show that feature about which bit it folds on. So I'll put a front cover on it. So let's put MacBites on it. Oh, this is lurid, isn't it? It should really be orange, you know. But that would probably look even worse, wouldn't it? Well, it's not bad. Not bad. Wrong font, but not bad. Let's get the right font, which is Myriad Pro. That's the MacBites font, but we would have a leaf on it, obviously. But there we go. And let's put that on it. That's probably about right. So we now know which is which. Now, what I'm going to do to make sure that we continue to know which is which, I will put that down a little bit, and I'm going to put a header there. So I'll do it like that, actually. So that's a header. So this is going to be inside right. And we would make that some kind of nice big font, like that. And then in here, which is which? Inside left, back, and that. I'm thinking that's inside right. Hang on, where am I? Actually, no, that's outside right, isn't it? It's on the right, but it's outside right. We'll say that's outside right. So you get the idea. Right, now we need to produce it. If it's going to print, you need all of the print stuff that we looked at last week. If it's not, if you're just doing it, so I'm going to put that in there. Trifold. Oh, does it? Did I do that in rehearsals? Right, there we go. All right, if you're then trying to export it, I'll do it to PDF. Let's see if that works. In fact, it might not. Just thinking about that. Let me think about that. Yeah, I can do it from PDF, can't I? I've got this actually set for my printer, but if I say for print, it will give me settings. Now, domestic print, I don't want the bleed. I do want to preview it when it's finished. I do want all the pages. And you may well be advised to head off into more and make sure what it's doing, which is it's going to specify a file format. It'll rasterize anything it doesn't understand, which means if there's something in vector that it just can't print, it will turn it into pixels and then print the pixels. So that usually comes into play when it's something like a drop shadow. Downsample images that are above 450 dpi because we're using a DPI of 300. Do you want to allow JPEG compression? Now, I tend to not do that. Then you choose your compatibility. If it's going off into print, I generally choose 1A. But it depends on your printer. They may want Acrobat 8 or any of the others. So just make sure you know your print service. Your colour space and your profile at the moment are coming from the document. But remember what I did. It was set up for a print service. And now I'm trying to print it domestically because I want a proof of it before I send it off. Well, you can actually override that in here. And I could choose one of these, whatever made most sense. So let's say I choose Apple for that. And then I do my conversions and all the rest of this stuff in here. And I don't want any printer's marks. Obviously, I would if I was sending it out to print, but I'm not. And I'm not including the bleed either. So hopefully that's set up to give me a reasonable PDF. So let's export it as a PDF, and I'm sticking it on the desktop. Right, and then we should get onto the print bit. Right, so it's opened it up in PDF Expert, and we can see we've got the inside there and we've got the outside there. Right, if I do my Command and P as if I'm going to print it, I'm actually going to choose the physical printer that's attached to my computer. You may wonder why that's got a warning triangle on it, so do I. It's in a mood, isn't it, Mike?
It is.
It's hanging by a thread, my printer. Yeah, I think it is actually RIP. So it's telling me there's something wrong with it, but no one can work out exactly what it is. It may or may not print. It's saying low toner, but it's not, because I've got a brand new one in. Long story. Right, so in here, it's giving you a preview of that. I would guess, looking at that, we want it to flip on the short edge there. Now, all of that is contained in the right-hand side. Now, the thing is, you look at the right-hand side and you think, there's nothing there about that, is there? The only thing it does say is two-sided. My printer happens to print out double-sided. So that's the first thing that I do want turned on, and it is A4, and I do want all the pages. The trick with this is, underneath here, you get a whole lot of other options. So if you're printing on a Mac, I would suggest you go in here and have a look at all of this as well. Layout in particular, because this is saying long edge binding. Now, I would say the short edge on that, but you never know. It depends what mood it's in. So you could try it on the long edge first. If that doesn't work, then just flip it to short edge binding. And what it's saying is, how does it actually fold it over? Which side would it be bound on? And to me, well, I would say the short, but if it's suggesting the long, I'll go with it. I'll let it do it. The other options you've got in here are paper handling, so where it's coming from, etc. Whether you want a cover page or not, which is very old hat. And the supply levels of my printer, and it's saying it's low on toner. It's lying. It's lying. The most important one is that layout, and the most important option in it is this two-sided thing here on the long edge. Neil, mine's a brother, like you can probably see it says brother. I did find this video on YouTube, and it said, you know, if you're getting this error message, do this. And I went through this convoluted process, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. Then I did it again, and it worked. So I'll try and find the link. Right, so we're going on the short edge, are we? I would say short edge flip on that. But we'll do short edge and we'll see. And I'll see if it'll actually print. So I'm now sending Mike off, because the printer doesn't live in here, does it? The printer lives in another room. So presupposing that you can go and get to the printer, and then we can actually see if that worked or not. But yeah, that's just one you've got to get right, and it really does depend per printer. So everybody's settings are different. When you go into the print dialog on the Mac, literally everybody's settings are different. So it's a matter of understanding your printer and what your printer actually wants. You'll notice that previewed in black and white because it's a black and white laser printer. So no colour preview on that. But I would take it through to a PDF, and that way I can check everything first. I hear Mike, he's coming back. He's just turned the light off. Do we have success? Oh, we do. We do. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, so you can see it, is... Let me get that camera up again. No, not that. It's... Oh, what's it called? Multi-something. Multicam, that's the one. Multicam. Where's multicam? There it is. There's the camera. Hello, camera. Right, let's get the camera on the screen and look at the printout. I need to make this much smaller to get it on this screen. There we go. Here's the camera. There's the printout. Get it the right way round for you. And there we go. So it's really which way it flips. When it talks about long edge or short edge, let's get that up a bit so we can see it. There we go. Right, that's the outside. And that's the inside. So it's talking about long edge flip here, or short edge flip. And that one is obviously short edge flip. And then all you need to do is sit there and probably fold about 5,000 of them, which is usually what I do until they get sent out for print. So not perfect in the folding department, I can assure you, but there you go. We have a trifold and it's actually been printed out. There's the outside right, and there's all the stuff on the inside. Perfect, including our inch, not an inch, a centimetre, 10 millimetres, which is the internal margins there, or the gutter. There we go. So, perfect. But that is Affinity Publisher. Why on earth would you be doing that in Designer? Why would you choose to do that in Designer? Well, there are actually some important reasons why you might. It just makes it easier to do certain things. So, we've saved that. Let's come out of that and let's go into Designer. And I have actually done one in Designer. The reason I did it in Designer, I didn't have to think about it. It was way before Affinity Publisher came out. But in Designer, you do have a couple of extra options. So you may need to think about doing it in Designer. It's going to depend on your output. So File and New, and then I would choose what I wanted in terms of size. So A4, do you want to create artboards, etc.? Let me think. I'll create an artboard, why not? Then I've got all my colour spaces, so I would go for CMYK, but did we find the Fogra?
Yeah, it's Fogra 39 coated, second one down.
Oh, 39, right, with you at the top. Okay, so that's ours, 39 at the top. Do we want it portrait? No, we don't. We want it wider than we want it tall. Then you've got all of your margins. So all of this is so similar, right, that you can set it up identically. No problem at all. Just use exactly the same settings, including the bleed at the bottom. So you don't have the 4 tabs, but the elements that you have, the colour, the dimensions, the margins, the bleed, they're all exactly the same as you would get in Affinity Publisher. Okay, and create that. Now, obviously, I only have one page, one A4 page at this stage. You're very welcome, David. Glad to have solved the problem. It can be tricky, that, because they don't help you on the Mac. They've got so many hidden options under the print thing that you end up just running around looking for them all and hardly ever finding them. Right, so we've got our first artboard. Let's say that's going to be the inside. I'd call that inside. First thing we're going to need is another one of those, but we made it an artboard. So if I grab the name of it and hold down the Option key, I can instantly add that down here and put that wherever I need to. So there we go. There's an inside and an outside. So I'll make sure that the bottom one is the outside. Anybody got any idea why I'm doing this in Designer when I have got Publisher? There is a reason. I'm just wondering if you know what it is. Right, so we here. Yeah, we really need you at 0, don't we? Just to line up. Just to nicely line up. Okay, perfect, I think. Right, so we'll work on the inside first, and it's a matter of doing what we did last time, really, which is you can either block it off with colour, and you can do it either way. Like I said to you, you can go in here, that's your width of 100, but if I take it all the way, and I go in there and do just like I did last time, divide that by 3, it will make it 99, and then you can do whatever you need to do with it, or you can drag in and put that at 99 and 198. And then you don't need that. Then you can put your text frames on it. So you can put your text on it. Anything you need to do, you can do all of that in here. So what I'm going to do with it is, just for pure speed, I'm going to put some blocks on it. So we'll have a block there. You'll notice I'm not going into the bleed, but I could if I wanted to, because I'm just not going to print it. It's just there in case I want it to go off to print. Trust me, you'll thank yourself if somebody then does say, oh, actually, we've just found some budget and that can go off to print. And you're like, I didn't design it that way. You can, and it won't make any difference when you come to export it. I've got my MacBite stuff over here, so I can actually bring in some proper content. Now, bearing in mind, this is the inside. So let's put our After Hours on there as well. Let's do that. And these would be far better if they were really bright colours, wouldn't they? So we'll do that as well. And anything else we need? Oh, let's have Wolfie on there. Let's put Wolfie on. We'll have Wolfie in the middle. Bearing in mind, that's the inside. So we would probably want some text on it. And then we would want on the outside... Oh, where should we put the waves? Let's have the waves on the inside, going all the way across the thing. Because although I've been designing it in panels, nothing to stop you putting something across the whole thing. Excellent. So we've got no text yet, but yeah, I would put some text on there as well. On the outside, I would then do the similar kind of job. So there's one at... Hang on. Let's drag that on to 99. Let's drag that on to 198. And then let's swap these panels round. Let's have that one over there. And let's have a black one over the other side. Remembering these are going into the bleed. So fractionally out of there. There we go. Right, perfect, perfect. Now that white panel in the middle is going to be the back panel. So let's put a MacBites Live on there. Anybody got a suggestion as to why I would be in here? What is the one feature this has got that it makes a lot easier to work with? So I'm on the inside, I'm on the outside, so we need a welcome to MacBites or something, don't we? It's got some text. And put welcome to MacBites. In fact, I don't even need the MacBites, do I? I can actually use the proper one. So let's make that mighty bigger. Use the right font and then add the logo. No, it's Myriad. There we go. And there's the MacBites, although that's white and the other one's black. If I wanted it black, these are just a starting point and I can actually edit them and make them black. So they're coming from my assets. And that is the outside right. So I would put something on there. We'll just put some text on it and say outside right, and then we know where we're up to. Outside right. And make it so we can read it. Perfect. Do we have a guess yet? We do have no guesses. No guesses as to why I would be in here. Well, the beauty of this is we've got there the inside artboard and the outside artboard. And we have a beautiful export persona. And at this stage, there's my outside, there's my inside. I would need to specify how I want it exported. And obviously, I would probably want a PDF, maybe for print. So set that up as PDF for print. And it will create, no, that's PDF for print, there we go. It will create two files, an outside and an inside. So let's export those. We'll put them on the desktop. Know where you were, desktop. And go and have a look at them. So let's open up the outside. There we are. And there's the inside. If I want them in the same file, you drag and drop it in. And now I've got the outside and the inside together. Spot on, Deborah. Spot on. Export the trifold individually. Right, so that is my brochure sorted out from Designer. It's a couple of extra steps, but it works. And it would still print out absolutely fine. But the one thing that Designer lets you do is, back in here, we've actually got 3 panels on each part of this. And the client in question that I had wanted to showcase this brochure on their website. And I said, well, we'll just take the content out and we'll make, 6 blocks on a page. No. I want the actual, a picture of it. I said, what, like a PNG? Yes, I want a PNG of it. Like, really? But they did. They did. So in your export persona, you already have, if I hover over there, you already have a kind of blue frame on it. And it's saying the size, what it's called, and the export format, and that is a slice. So it's a slice. That's the outside one down here, and that's the inside one up there. But you can over here, so you've got different tools over here that will let you select stuff, but you've also got this, which is your slice tool. And there's nothing to stop you adding in extra slices where you already have content. So I've now created slice 1. And I can go ahead and I can create other slices. So there's one for the middle one. You'll notice because I'm zoomed in and I'm actually dragging it down myself, but I could zoom out and just draw them. So you can see that's telling me everything matches. I've got those red arrows. And complete it on the other one. So what I'm creating is 6 exportable areas. And they're called slice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That makes no sense at all. That one should be inside, let's say inside left. That way we know exactly which one we're talking to. This one should be inside middle. And that one is inside right, just so we know. Then we've got outside. Now, at this point, you've got a bit of an issue, haven't you? Because it's actually on the left. In fact, I've done the same with that, haven't I? I've said left, it's on the left on the screen, but actually, when it exports, it's going to be the other way around. So let's correct that before we go any further. Then we'll get onto this one. That one is outside right, so we'll put in there outside right. This one is outside middle. And you could have called this front and back, whatever you want to call it. And that one is outside left. There we go. That's the whole of the outside, and that's the whole of the inside. There is a slight difference here if you look at the icon. And this one here is an artboard, and it says slice from layer, so it's the whole thing. Whereas these I've actually drawn on, so they've got a slightly different graphic. But other than that, not a problem. Now, why are you doing that in here? Well, 1, doing that in Publisher would be a living nightmare. But 2, it means in here you don't have to maintain 2 completely different files. You're only working on the one file. You can go back into the vector mode and you can change all of this. So let's say we want that down there. That won't work over there. They want that on the front cover, right? And they're moving that down a bit. I don't have to go in and change something in another place to get the graphic version. I can just use the same file. Straight over to the export. Click Export Slices. Now, the one thing I would think about before I do that, you saw me set that up as a PDF. These would need to be graphics. So do they need to be PNGs? And if so, what size do they need to be? Or maybe they need to be JPEGs or something else. So you can set that up. Let's just say, just so I can show you, that you want these as JPEGs. In fact, I'll do it as JPEGs and then I'll put them back just to show you how fast it can be. Let's say I want that as the best quality JPEG. But look, that's 1. I've now got to change 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, because when I open these, every one of them is a PNG. But with this one that's set up as a JPEG, I can actually use the copy export setup to clipboard. I can go and choose the other 5 and I can replace that with the setup from the clipboard. Now if I look at all of the others, they're all JPEGs and it took a couple of seconds. Let's see that again, going back the other way. So choose one of them, make it what you want, so a PNG, copy, select the other elements and paste. And now when I open them up, they're all PNGs. It's amazing. If you want both, so let's say at this stage we don't really know what size we want. you know, we've got a 1 times here, but we'd quite like a 2 times maybe. And then we need a JPEG as well. Well, we can add a different size of PNG. So we've got a 1 times and a 2 times and a 3 times. If we're not sure, so we don't really want a 3 times, we've been told that we need one that is 795 wide. Okay, 795W. Now it will export to 795 wide. I'm getting a message there because it needs a name. It needs a unique name. So I'm going to put 795 on it. And that takes that away. So I've now got 3 different PNGs that are going to be created. But maybe a JPEG would be smaller. So I'll choose a best quality JPEG, 1 size, 2 size, and let's put a 3 in that's 795 wide and make sure we've got a unique name. So I'm doing that by tagging on to the name the 795. Great. But of course now I've got 6 export settings, and 6 times 5, that's going to take a while to set these up, but you don't have to worry about that. Do exactly the same thing. It doesn't matter how many export settings you've got set on one of these. Copy, select them, paste. And now whichever one you look at has got all 6 outputs. Oh yes, Deborah, you can do pixels. Pixels is fabulous. I do that with the posters, the MacBites posters. My export settings for the MacBites posters are long. There's a lot of different ones. Let's see if I can get one. Poster set, MacBites After Hours. Oh, let's go for 57. There we go. Oh, January next year. Somebody's organised, aren't they? If I go into my export settings in here and I look at that one, which is my 16:9, there are all my export settings. So I have them at 1 times, and then I have 730, 640, 624, all the way up to 3,840. I also have PDFs and JPEGs. And believe you me, they got copied. In fact, this one's even more complicated because this one has a path in it. So if we look at my desktop, there is no folder there for MacBites posters. It is called MacBites After Hours posters, and then this one would be 57, and it says slice name. Cool. If I export that, it will create everything for me. So let's take that down a bit. I keep saying we should do one on export. Export's just so powerful, it is unbelievable. So let's export the slices, and all I need to do is to tell it on the desktop. So just put the whole lot on the desktop. It creates my root folder, MacBites After Hour posters. When it's finished strutting its stuff, there's the folder it creates within it for this particular show, which is why over here the slices are by number, because I'm using them as variables in the output. And there are all my outputs. That's why I'm all posted up till January, because I was playing with my exports. Okay, so that was that one. Let's get rid of that. Don't need that at the moment. We can actually close that file, can't we? All right, so back to what we were doing in here. We were finding these most amazing export features was what we were doing. So we've got the inside and the outside, which we can make into PDFs, but we've also now got all of these graphics here. So I'm going to export all of that lot. Now, what I haven't done with that is I haven't wired that up to any folders and any more magic. I'm just going to create a folder called my trifold. And I'll put the whole lot in my trifold folder, and then I won't lose anything. So export everything to there, and I should get my 2 PDFs, one of the inside, one of the outside, and then I should get the 6 panels in however many different formats I've just set up, which I think was 2 formats with 3 options on each, so I should get 6 of each. Should get quite a few actually. So let's see what happens. There's my trifold. These are probably going to be quite big files. Here they all are, with all of their names. And of course, it's not helping matters, it's uploading to iCloud while we're going. Right, it's still thinking about it with iCloud, but they're all there. So we've got the underscore 795 in the PNG, we've got the JPEG, we've got the standard size, and we've got the 2x1. And then if you look, you've got the inside ones in JPEGs, PNGs, you've got absolutely everything. I wonder if you're seeing my spinning beach ball of death. I think we've killed the machine. It's uploading, I think, so I'm hopeful that that's what's the matter with it. There we go, it is. It's uploading. So there are 38 files there. We've got our inside and our outside, and then we have the other files. So if we just go through the outside, you've got a graphic for each section. So they're all different formats there. And there we go. There's the inside one, etc. So as we go through them, they all obviously look the same at that stage. But there's the outside, right? And there's so many different formats of them. So that is why, even if you have Affinity Publisher, you need to make sure what the client wants in terms of exports, preferably before you create it. It's not a disaster if you don't. Here's why it's not a disaster if you don't. That one's not even saved yet, naughty me. I will save that. Let's call that trifold demo. And stick that in there. Right, and close it. Yeah, because we know what colour that was. Right, absolutely nothing to stop you here. So let's imagine. Where did I put the original one? Was that in my Affinity Publisher stuff? My Drive, Application Support, Affinity Publisher. It was the one called Demo, wasn't it? It was there. Now that is an Affinity Publisher file. So let's drag that back. Affinity Publisher document. You've done it in Affinity Publisher because the client said it's going to print. And you thought, fine. And you said, do you need any graphics? And they said, no, they said. And you thought, okay. You believed them. Right. You can open that Affinity Publisher file in Designer after the event. So let's open it actually up in Designer. And you can put artboards on there if you need. So when I say artboards, you know, you can go to your export and you can get one of these and you can draw around it. And you would then be able to export that. That's one thing you could do. But what else could help you? So I'm going to close that without saving it. Don't want to save that. What else? And I know you're all aware of it because you all sat through the demo and like me, you build and you cooed over it. You did. But what else? So we're back in Publisher. We don't have an option here because there's no export persona. The nearest you'll get to an export persona is that, which is the export panel. But if you look at it, all you're doing at this stage is telling it what format you want it exported in. It's not letting you choose anything other than a selection with or without the background or all pages or current page. So there's no way to do what Affinity Designer does. Oh dear, oh dear. Past midnight and everything's come alive. Let's get rid of that. But you have up here, we have the link process. You can edit this file in Publisher or Photo or Designer. Studio link. So there's nothing to stop me flipping over into Designer and doing it all in Designer. So you've got that option. Good night, Graham. Oh, you've got a cold. That's not good. That's not good. Not good. Right, so you've got lots of options when it comes to creating your trifold brochures. Now I'm looking at that says, yes, do want an export. It's amazing. The export persona is nothing short of magical. I've always loved it. It's absolutely magical. I do have a file that is amazing. We did a MacBites 10 a while ago. It was 10 shows and I needed 10 different pieces of artwork that's in one single file, and then we needed it in more and more formats, and this file is pretty amazing. And then I built this export thing on it. It's probably the best file to show export, but that's a whole session all in its own right, I think. Right, so let's come out of there and let's get back to where we were, because we're almost done, I think. So let me get, where are we in here? Where am I? Oh, I'm all of a loss. Oh, the unboxing. You're going to want to see the unboxing, I can assure you. The unboxing, well, I'll let my former self explain it to you, is what I'll do. This was one I had to pre-do. I'll explain why as I go. Are you going to play for me? Go on. I need to hear it now. Right, it's unboxing time. Can you tell I'm excited? I would leave this until the live show, but I need to use it for the live show. Story behind its arrival, bless. It was one of these things on Amazon where, don't know if you've ever seen this, but you come to place an order and it says if you will get this on Tuesday if you order in the next 2 hours. So I'm contemplating which day I want the thing to arrive, based on the fact, given how expensive it is, they may or may not want a signature, so I need to be available. Anyway, it said if you order in the next 8 hours, this was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can have it the day after tomorrow. So I'm contemplating that, thinking that might be doable. I wait until Mike gets home. I go back to place the order to find out it slipped by a day. I thought, joy, that won't work. I think that meant it would be Saturday. So I thought, well, I'll have to wait 48 hours now because I can't guarantee, I'm bobbing in and out over the weekend. So Monday would be better. So I wait and I'm watching it and the time is jumping all over the place. So it gets to a point where I can order it for Monday delivery. I thought, brilliant. I better order it now because if I leave it, it might slip to Tuesday or Wednesday. So I ordered it for Monday delivery. That was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 5 o'clock on a Saturday night. I thought, perfect. It's too late now for Sunday delivery. Monday's fine. I would even tolerate Tuesday, but Monday's fine. Guess what? Your order has dispatched. It will be with you tomorrow. And that's Sunday. Didn't want it Sunday. Wanted it Monday, like we agreed. Anyway, luckily, I was back in the house after my morning venture out and my afternoon venture out when it arrived. And yes, it wanted a signature. So, very excited. Want to see this. It's actually replacing an app and my iPad. And the app it's replacing started life called Actions, but then became Quadro Pro. I've mentioned it briefly in passing before, but Quadro Pro turns my iPad into a control surface. Now, a control surface is where you have an iPad and it has big squares on it and you can just tap the squares and your computer will perform some action. Unfortunately, Actions died a death, but that was fine because it became Quadro Pro. But then Quadro Pro died a death. So it's working at the moment, but it probably won't be with any iOS upgrades. So it was time to buy a new toy. This toy right here. I hope they've sent me the right toy. Right, here it is. Let's tip the box. There it is. It is an Elgato Stream Deck XL. The XL part means it's got lots of buttons, but it is basically a control surface. It sits up on the desk. They do different versions of this. There's one with 6 buttons. I think there's an intermediate one which has probably got about 12 to 15, and there's this one which has 32 buttons. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yes, 32 buttons. So the intentional use for this, although you can potentially use it for anything, but my potential use for this is when I'm going live, I use software called Wirecast, or I could use another one called eCam. And either way, when I've got something like Keynote running, I can't see a thing. All I can see is Keynote. So how on earth do I interact with Wirecast to switch the view? Well, short answer is I can't. I have to come out of Keynote, I have to push a button in Wirecast and then go back into Keynote, which is annoying at best. This will solve that problem. This will control Wirecast, despite the fact that Wirecast isn't the active application. That's the plan. Now, Wirecast at the moment only has very, very rudimentary support for it, as it's the first time they've released a plugin for it. Ecamm Live has a little bit more robust support. But I've been in the forums with Wirecast and Telestream. Telestream's the company who makes Wirecast. And they're very, very interested in this piece of kit. They've been available for almost a year, but there was obviously no point buying it if the software that I used didn't support it. But now they've got their embryonic support out, I thought, well, I might as well get it now, beta test it, etc. I'm hoping that there'll be ways to control other applications as well. Primarily for me, Hindenburg. Would love that. Would love 32 magic buttons for Hindenburg. Now, if it can't do it, if Hindenburg doesn't directly support it, which doubtless it won't, I'm hoping that something like Keyboard Maestro will work with it. But time will tell once I get it out of the box. So let's have a look at it and get it out of the box. Oh, very nice pictures. I do love pictures like this. Oh, promising me all sorts. So let's see how the nails are doing today in terms of getting in this box. Oh, it's a bit tight. Ooh, might need to get the scissors out, or at least extra nails. Just there we go. The nails will do. Just need to pull it away slightly to get in there. We go. Oh, should we do the Apple test? The Apple test is you should be able to lift the lid and it just slide off. Excellent. Right, nice little manual on the top. So let's get that out. Oh, nice and thin. We like nice thin manuals. Very, very basic by the look of it. Showing you how to actually set it up. So it connects via USB, it's looking. And then brief instructions for how to configure it with the accompanying software. This doubtless will be a reason that I won't be doing the Catalina thing anytime soon. Obviously its drivers are going to need to be updated. But this is the actual device itself. Oh boy, that's heavier than I thought. That's the shape of it from the side, the profile of it. And there should be some kind of stand in here. Nope, the stand's attached to it. So we also have in here a cable. That's a pretty sturdy cable. That is indeed. Right, so one end of it is USB-C. The other end is a standard USB. So I'm presuming this is the USB-C end. So let's take the beautiful tissue paper off it. Do like it when my tech's in tissue paper. Let's have a look at that. Oh, and it's got a sticker on it as well. Oh, how perfect. Right, let's get it undone. Oh, it's actually a bag. So it doesn't slide out, it's actually a bag. There it is. So it's sat in it. It's sat in a bag. So we're going to have to take this sticker off. That comes off very simply. And peel the bag back. So at the minute it's face down. Let's get it out, flip it round, and it falls apart. Right, it's magnetic. So it should just slot clean back on. There we go. So that's what it would look like face on to me. I am hoping I will be able to interact with it in these terms. So wrist-wise, a little bit flatter might have been nice, but I have a Shuttle Pro and I've got little labels for my Shuttle Pro. You've seen my Shuttle Pro. It's very flat. And once I'd done all these labels, I thought that's genius. And now I can't see them because it was too flat. These little buttons obviously are all black. But this works in the way I predict future keyboards will work, in terms of, once I've got it installed and configured with the software, the buttons will actually light up. So if we look at the picture on the box, you get customised buttons with them lighting up. So it all looks very dull and black at the moment, but hopefully, moving forward, once I've got it configured, don't know how many weeks that's going to take, I can have pretty pictures. So something that indicates the function you've added to that particular button. So that's what it looks like. That's, as I say, it comes off the stand behind, which is good for cleaning. There's also a cable slot on there. So the cable will go in this slot here and meet up at this end somewhere, I'm presuming. Where are you? You must be here somewhere. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it goes in there. Look. I've got the thing on the bottom peeling off. Let's put that down. Where does the cable go? Should probably put my glasses on, shouldn't I, so I can actually see it. Oh, let's have a look. Got to be here somewhere. Stop hiding from me. I seriously do not see anywhere to put the cable. I'm going to have a look at the manual, aren't I? Go on, give in. Oh, at the back of it, it says. Okay, where have I not seen? Oh, according to that, the side. Didn't look at the side. I looked at all the edges. Let's have a better look. There it is. Good grief, it's down there. Can barely see it. So let's configure that bit. Anyway, let's get this plugged in. Going to have to find somewhere to plug it at the other end. Good job, I've got 10-port hub, USB 3 hub. Right, so cable's actually braided, black braided and quite thick. I intend to use the one that came with it because not all USB cables are equal. So just in case, I'll put that through there. Pull it through and try and get it attached. Which bit was it? It was that one there. So let's pop that in there. Going in. Yep, very easy. And I'm presuming that it goes on there. So let's put that back in. Yep. And it's sorted. So all I now need to do, all she said, is get the software working with it and program it all. But that is, now it says Elgato on it, but there was another name when I looked at it, which is not anywhere on the box. These are the people who used to make the iTV, EYE-TV for the Mac, but they sold that on to Geniatech. So obviously they've gone into this kind of thing now. So hopefully by the time you've seen all of this, I'll have it working. In which case, the next thing you'll see is it working. Unless it all goes belly up, as they say. In which case, the next thing you will see is me ranting about it. But that is the unboxing. There we go. Beautiful toy. Beautiful, beautiful toy. Well, that was my previous self. I'm back to my real self now, and that was the toy. Happy to say it is set up. That's not mine. That's a photo off the web. But as I said, it's basically intended to do things that I can't do. So, for instance, right now, I can't see any of my screens. And if I wanted to send a tweet, I'd obviously have to pick my phone up. But if I didn't have my phone, if it was a pre-configured tweet, I can set up one of those buttons to actually send a tweet. I can set up one of those buttons to switch views in Wirecast. That's the main use other people are putting it to at the moment. But as you can see, endless expansion. You can actually download an SDK for it, which is a software developer's kit, and fiddle around with it yourself. I've left it long enough that I'm intending to use what it can do. So, for instance, the Stream Deck's on the left, Ecamm Live's on the right. The two talk to each other. My setup is Wirecast on the right. And again, the two talk to each other. So I can have that thing sat on my desk, and without being able to see the screen at all, I can have it doing things. However, it doesn't talk to Hindenburg at all, which is my audio editor. But what I'll be showing you next time is how I've used Keyboard Maestro, which we've talked about before. I've had requests to cover that. And I've always said the thing with Keyboard Maestro is there's a danger when you're doing a demo, it just becomes because you can. And you're not doing anything with it that demos it kind of for real. This is a real demo. Keyboard Maestro is the glue that holds together the Stream Deck with Hindenburg. Without Keyboard Maestro, the two are not talking to each other. So that is what I'm going to show you next week. So it is sat on my desk. Now, talking of next week, we're heading into October. Can't believe that. But we are Friday, 9 o'clock again. It's still British summertime. Not that you could tell by the weather. And we've got quite a bit coming up. So as I've said, next time we're looking at this. And as I've said, it doesn't talk to, I'd love to tell you it works just out of the box with my stuff, but I'm going to be showing you Keyboard Maestro and how the two talk to each other. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, but I don't want one, I'm never going to use one, and I don't use Hindenburg. To make that magic happen, I intend to use all of those apps. You're wondering how I got Google Sheets in there, aren't you? But I did. So the one on the top left is the Stream Deck app, but I'm also using Affinity Publisher, Affinity Designer, Google Sheets, Keyboard Maestro, and Hindenburg for the entire demo. So there's something in there for you, even if you're a designer and you don't want a Stream Deck. Also, a heads up that on the 11th of October, I'll be doing an introduction to creating content with Scrivener. We're starting our preparations for NaNoWriMo with said introduction to creating content with Scrivener 3. Now, notice the title, Creating Content. As long as it's got some element of text-based content, we have you covered. So it's not just the next instalment of 50 Shades or any other novel of your choice. It's blog posts, it's emails, it's lead magnets, journals, course materials, training manuals, you name it. It's going to be relevant for all Scrivener users or wannabe Scrivener users. Now, what can you do? Well, right now, we love you and you say you love us. Could you give us a like down below? YouTube like it if we get likes. So down there, give us a like. Thank you, Kim. Glad you enjoyed it. If you want first dibs on all of this, there's two ways of doing that. There is my VIP list, and there is also, now what I put on there is all my tech stuff. Now, I do not mention on there the MacBites podcast. I talk about MacBites After Hours, and I will, that will go out and you will get a reminder, etc. But if you're not into listening to MacBites, then that's the list for you. But if you are interested in all the things we do on MacBites, so MacBites FM, the live coverage of the Apple events, and the podcast, then there is another list, which is the MacBites mail list. So the choice is yours. The choice is yours. In the meanwhile, you can find us all over the internet, but specifically at those places. And we would love to hear from you. I actually heard from a gentleman who was having a huge problem with Affinity Publisher, and we nuked it, we ninjaed it, we beat it into submission. So I love to hear from you with your weird and wonderful challenges. And that's where a lot of the ideas for the demos come from. So do get in touch, and I hope you found tonight interesting. We can't do something to eat now because Graham's gone. That's not good. Can we do something to eat? I haven't had my fruit yet. You know what I did have, though? Yesterday. Had an ice cream yesterday. And we've got another dinner coming up, and Mike took me through the menu. And you got to the desserts, didn't you? And it was like, what exactly is that? And what's that? And then he got to the last bit and he said, a selection of vanilla ice creams. And I said, that's the one. That's the one. So that's coming up in a good few weeks. So, what rang your bell tonight? It seems you want the thing on exporting. Exporting Persona is just, words can't describe how fabulous it is. And Post Haste. You seem to like Post Haste. Post Haste is a good one. Oh, Happy Dance. What's the Happy Dance for? Which Happy Dance? Tell me. Ice cream. Do you think the Happy Dance is for the ice cream or the export Persona? Or maybe Scrivener? You never know. You need to tell me, what's the Happy Dance for? I need to know these things. Oh, Chorley Cakes. How did that go? Now, we didn't go to this event, but we heard there was an event on. Where was that event? Was it Longridge? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. There was an event and it was in Longridge. Now, Longridge is near Preston, which is near Chorley. And that's where Chorley Cakes are named from. There is a place here. Chorley's about, 20 miles away, Mike? 20? Yeah. About 20 miles north of where we are. But there's also a place called Eccles. That's about 4 miles north of where we are. And Eccles Cake and Chorley Cakes are different. Eccles Cakes have a completely different kind of flaky pastry on them. And there's quite a lot of mincemeat inside it. But Chorley Cakes are much flatter and the pastry's much heavier, and it's proper pastry. Well, on this menu, it said Chorley Cakes. And given that it was like 2 miles from Chorley, that's what everybody expected. When it turned up, It wasn't a proper Chorley cake. Oh, did it hit the fan? People got their phones out and were Googling it. No, it's not a proper Chorley cake unless, and then they filled in, crazy stuff. But they do. Sadly, I can't eat either. Not so good with puff pastry. No, the pastry is very odd. It's quite fatty, isn't it? Mum used to make that brilliantly. She could. It was how you folded the not suet. We call it lard, but I don't think they call it that in the States. It's how you fold it all together, and she was great at it. Me, not so much so. But then I was too busy rewiring the house for her, so each to their own, and cooking's not really me. Yes to the export persona. Okay, we'll sort that out. I think that warrants a session totally on its own. The thing is, it's there and you look at it and you just assume that it can do what you can see it can do. But when you start experimenting with it and you push it a little bit, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. So yes, we'll definitely do the export persona. Scrivener. Oh, you like Scrivener? Well, we're going to start with semi-basics, not total basics like bold, italic and underline, but semi-basics, because there are people who have never used it. But I'm sure we'll get onto the compiling features before long. Does each region have its own pastry? In those situations, Chorley and Eccles actually do. I'm trying to think, are there any more, Mike? There probably are, aren't there? I'm thinking about when I was younger and I went to Scotland and I went to Glasgow and they had... There's a Manchester tart, yes. I'm thinking of when I went to Glasgow and they had Edinburgh Rock, which is very soft rock. I thought it was going to be like Blackpool. We went for the day from Blackpool. Blackpool speciality is rock, I would say, which is not good for the teeth. Not in the slightest. Chipped a tooth on one of those when I was younger. I shouldn't have been biting it, really. With my teeth, that wasn't a sound manoeuvre. So there's rock from Blackpool, there's rock from Edinburgh. Isn't there a something cake as well from Edinburgh? There's a lot of stuff where it is very regional and they do get very intense with it. Whose is the pies? Melton Mowbray pies. Melton Mowbray is a town in the UK and they have Melton Mowbray pork pies, and apparently it's an EU regulation, so that won't apply for long. Although, having said that, you never know. That you can't say it's a Melton Mowbray pork pie unless it was made in Melton Mowbray. So, yes, they do get rather tetchy with it. We'll have to do a research on all the food and come up with some other things as well, because I know there is some. I just can't for the life of me think right now. Well, then it is getting late, isn't it? Yes, I did. I chipped a tooth on it. What can I say? And it was a front one as well. And I didn't get it fixed for years. It was my own fault. It was my own fault. Normal people could do it, but not me with my teeth. That was when I learned how brittle they were. But never mind, it's all fixed now and it's sort of bionic with my bionic bone powder. I could probably eat anything now, but now I don't even bite an apple. I cut my apples up into pieces and I chew them gently. Don't ever bite the thing. Don't bite anything more than a very, very, very overdone carrot. No, I don't bite anything now. They probably could, but I'm not risking it. I always used to get concerned. Our dog, when he was very young, he was only a couple of months old, and he was sniffing at the gate and he was going absolutely mad. And we kept saying, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And there was. As we looked over, he could smell this sweet that somebody had dropped on the other side, and it was a mint imperial. Now, I don't know if they have mint imperials in the States. You need to let me know. But a mint imperial is like a small, probably about 1/2 inch circular thing. And it is as hard as rock. And it's mint flavoured. Obviously, the wisest course of action with a mint imperial is to suck them until they melt. No. Mayor wanted this mint imperial and we said, look, it's been on the floor, you're not having it. But he was still going mad 3 days later. So we bought him a packet of mint imperials. And we let him have one. We checked what was in it. It was fine. So we let him have this mint imperial. What was he like crunching them, Mike? I couldn't bear to listen. All I was thinking is he's going to break his teeth. He's going to break his teeth. And Mike kept saying, look, he's a dog and dogs eat bones. It's fine. And I just couldn't handle the crunching. Ugh, panic. But he was fine with them. So every night he used to have, we started calling him MIs, didn't we? So let's go and MI the dog. Let's give the dog his MIs. Bless him. Bubble Up. I've never heard of that one. What does that do? It's sounding like bibliographies come printing come ebook things. Oh, something I've not heard of, Deb. Let me know. Give me more information about it. There was one with a similar name. I'm trying to think what that name actually was. Oh, it escapes me, but it was to do with taking output from Scrivener and converting it into some kind of ebook thing. Is it something like that, or is it totally different? I need to know these things. Anyway, we are going to have something to eat because I'm going to have some fruit. And I was going to say we've got a quiet weekend planned, but I'm not saying that because something will happen if we do. We may or may not have a quiet weekend planned. It's going to depend. I'm just waiting for Deb to let me know about Bubble Up. It's got to be something like that, hasn't it, Mike? Why aren't you looking it up for me and telling me? Why are you making Deb type it? Bubble Up.
The cloud reimagined.
Oh, something wholly different then.
It looks like Notion.
It looks like an ocean.
Keep any kind of information together. Discover how your links, photos, notes, videos and files become better in Bubble Up.
You're going to need to talk nearer to that microphone if everyone's going to hear you.
The cloud reimagined.
The stuff you save in Bubble Up is easy to navigate at a glance with pictures and titles. Keep links in the same folders as PDFs, photos, videos, GIFs, notes and other files.
Oh, that sounds right up my street. I'm going to need to look at that. But you know, part of me now, I'm ruined with Notion. Whereas before, I would dive on something new and evaluate it. I'm at the stage with Notion where it's like, I don't really want to have to move again because this is fantastic. And it is just working and it gets the show out. But I'll have a look at it, Deb. I will have a look and I will let you know. So is anybody having anything to eat or is it just us two? Even though it's nearly midnight. But hey, it was a good night. It was a good night. So here's to next week. I'm trying to think now. I had something planned for next week, didn't I, Mike? It's totally escaped me. Because the Scrivener thing's not next week. That's the week after. Oh, it's the Stream Deck thing. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say it all worked in the end. But getting there was quite interesting. So an interesting exercise in how to manage a lot of information, I would say. Thank you very much, Kim. You have a fantastic weekend too. And Deborah's eating breakfast. I actually feel like I should be eating breakfast, Deborah. But I'm sure I shall be soon enough. So we will say good night for this week. Hopefully you'll be able to join us next week when we're going to have a whole lot more fun. And we'll think about export personas as well before you get so giddy with them because they are amazing. They really are amazing. So it's good night from me or good morning, depending on where you are. And we'll both see you next time. Good night, folks.